Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has immortal bloodline council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Apex Soldier and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. It's a boy. The doctor said as he handed the young boy to his mother. His father was smiling down at him, not believing that he helped create such a beautiful creature. The young boy had blonde hair, gray eyes for now, but he knew they would be the deepest blue anyone will ever see. His mother held the boy in her arms in a loving embrace. "Hello there young one, I'm your mother, and that right there is your father," said the red-haired woman. The boy stopped crying and looked up at his mother. He started giggling and grabbed his mother's finger with both hands. He started playing with it as his parents watched on with pride and love. The father then stared at his lovely wife. She had been a bit of a tomboy the first couple of weeks he had first met her. After she had opened up to him, he knew he had found the woman he would spend the rest of his life with. His wife looked up at him and smiled at him. He smiled back and then saw a flash go off. The father looked across the room to see the doctor with a camera. The doctor smiled at them and handed them the picture. Subsequently, they heard something that they never expected to hear. "It's Kyuubi. The nine-tailed fox." Many ninja arrived on the scene to see Kyuubi attacking their village. No one knew exactly why he was attacking Konoha. Konoha has never had a past history with a Biju, not one that they knew of. However, they were not about to let it kill them all and destroy their precious village. They fought with everything they had, but it still wasn't enough to stop Kyuubi. It just ignored their futile attempts to stop it and continued to rampage the village. Far off in the distance, someone with blonde hair rode on top of large toad, moving at high speeds to the fight. He held his newborn baby in his arms in hopes to stop Kyuubi. "Let me be there on time," the mysterious man said. Then he smirked as a sudden thought. "I'm starting to be as bad as Kakashi." Many were about to give up hope, but all of a sudden, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, appeared on top of Gamabunta, the chief toad. He had his usually Jonin vest, navy blue shirt, pants and shoes. He also had his famous white robe with flames embedded at the bottom. He held his newborn child in his arms, praying he would forgive him when he grew up. For what? For sealing Kyuubi in him. Minato was making the biggest sacrifice in his life, risking his own life and the future life of his son, Naruto Namikaze. He knew the only way to stop Kyuubi would be to seal him into a newborn child. But he couldn't ask anyone else to give up their child if he wasn't willing to do that himself. There is a price to be paid with sealing Kyuubi into Naruto, and that is his life, though he couldn't care less. As long as it saved the village, Naruto and Kushina, he didn't care. Kushina Uzumaki is Minato's wife. She was the one who gave birth to Naruto. He would have announced it long ago, but Konoha's advisors, Hamaru and Kaharu, advised him not to. He was foolish to have listened to them, but it couldn't be helped. After giving birth to Naruto, Minato told Kushina to remain there while he went to stop Kyuubi. He hoped she would forgive him, too. Now here he stood, facing Kyuubi, Naruto crying in his arms and a single tear rolling down his cheek. "I'm sorry Naruto, I just hope they see you as the hero that you truly are." Then, he started the sealing jutsu and sealed Kyuubi into Naruto. It was struggling and Minato almost didn't pull it off, but thankfully, he had an unprecedented amount of chakra. At the last second, he managed to seal Kyuubi into his only son. After that, he used the 8 trigram sealing. They're my son. I know you don't understand this, but thanks to this seal, you'll be able to access Kyuubi's chakra to help you whenever you need it," he said, trying to calm down a crying Naruto. He kept rocking Naruto until Naruto fell asleep. Minato had no energy left and he knew he would die soon. Knowing that his village is safe, he would be able to rest a lot more peacefully. Unfortunately, today apparently was not his day as someone appeared in front of him. "Minato, something's happened to Kushina," a white-haired man said. Minato's eyes widened at his words. "What do you mean Jiraiya?" Minato asked coldly. Jiraiya flinched at the coldness in Minato's voice. He didn't want to be the one to tell him, it would just devastate him. After you left, she insisted on helping defend the village. I was there and told her she had to rest, but she knocked me out and went to protect the village. When I awoke, I went to look for her, but she was nowhere to be found." "No, you don't mean that?" Minato asked fearfully. I think she's dead Minato," Jiraiya reluctantly said. Minato didn't believe it, he just couldn't. "But she wasn't found, that doesn't mean she's dead," Minato said. Jiraiya just shook his head. "It's highly unlikely that she's alive." Minato just looked down at his son. Even though he looked like him, Minato knew he would be just like his mother. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be alive long enough to see if it is true. "Take care of my son, Jiraiya. Take him back to the village and make sure he's seen as a hero. The hero who helped stop Kyuubi from completely destroying Konoha. Also, make sure he takes the name Naruto Uzumaki. I don't want my enemies coming after him." Minato told Jiraiya as he handed Naruto to Jiraiya. Jiraiya nodded and disappeared into the night. Minato stood, looking at the night sky. Be tough my son, I doubt the village will respect you, but I hope they do respect my last wish. And as for you Kushina, Minato smiled as he stared into the time skip 5 years. Head back here demon and pay for that apple. The day started out as usual, someone accusing the 5-year-old blonde-haired kid of stealing something from them and the blonde kid running for his life as a mob formed to beat him. Naruto was running down the busier streets of Konoha, hoping to lose them in the crowd. I already paid for it. Naruto yelled before disappearing into the crowd. The mob stopped and started swearing as they knew they wouldn't be able to find him now. They separated and left to continue their day. Naruto smiled as he saw the mob leave. He laughed at them as he walked home, eating his apple in peace. He wasn't really paying attention to where he was going and soon ended up in the park. He looked around confused, wondering why he was at the park, but just shrugged and went to the swings. He was swinging for a couple of minutes before some orange blur ran straight at him and tackled him. This caused Naruto to fall back, off the swing and onto the ground. He let out a groan before looking up and seeing a small orange fox looking eagerly at him. Naruto got up and picked up the fox. Hey, the fox immediately jumped out of Naruto's arms and licked his face. Naruto laughed as the fox continued licked his face. Stop, come on, I tickles. It would be another couple of minutes before the fox stopped, but it was still hyperactive. Naruto took some time to calm down before he stood up. He walked over to the fox and patted it on the head. He then started to walk away. The fox looked back at him and started following him. Naruto looked back and saw that the fox was following him. Are you following me? He asked. The fox seemed to have understood because the fox's head did a motion that looked to be a nod. This surprised Naruto, he didn't think animals were that smart. Now it was time for the harder questions. Why? He asked, wondering if the fox would talk. But all the fox did was stand on its hind legs and repeatedly tap Naruto's stomach with its front paw. Naruto's sweat dropped, he was kind of hoping the fox would have said something. He sighed and continued walking, the little fox walking right behind him. Naruto kept walking and found himself at Ichiraku's ramen bar. He smiled widely and ran inside. He noticed that the fox wasn't following him and felt somewhat disappointed. He sat down on the chair and was about to order when Tucci, the owner, stopped him. Sorry Naruto, you know the rules, no pets. Naruto tilted his head. What do you mean? I don't have a pet. Naruto explained. Tucci just pointed to his head. Naruto reached up and felt the little fox, it sleeping silently on his head. Am came out of the kitchen to see what was going on. It was in that exact moment that the little fox decided to stretch and scratch its ear with its leg. Am squealed at how cute the fox was. Both Naruto and Tucci sweat dropped as Am grabbed the fox. The fox just stared confusedly at Am, then looked back at Naruto. Fine, I'll take the ramen to go then. He said as he took out his Gamma wallet. The fox stared at Naruto's wallet, then jumped from Am's hands and snatched it from Naruto's hands. Hey. He then sped after the little fox. He was right behind the fox and jumped so he could grab the fox. Regrettably, the fox saw this coming and jumped to the left, making Naruto make a face planted on the sidewalk. When he got up he saw the fox but not the wallet. Hey, where'd you put my wallet? Naruto asked. The little fox looked to his left, then his right before looking back at Naruto and tilting his head. Naruto's sweat dropped and stared at the fox that was surprisingly calm. He sighed and decided to go home since he didn't have the money for Ichiraku's ramen. He started walking home and again the fox was following him. When they reached his house, Naruto turned to the fox. Sorry little guy, but I'm not allowed to have any pets. The fox's ears went down and it looked sad. This got Naruto sad, he didn't want to see the little fox sad. The fox walked away into a dark alley and disappeared. Naruto walked into his home, thinking about the fox. He made some instant ramen since it was the only thing he could afford and sat down on the couch to watch TV. He then got tired of watching TV and went to bed. It was midnight and Naruto was still thinking about the little fox. He was thinking how lonely the fox must be, how afraid it must be being alone. Naruto got off his bed and went outside. He looked into the dark alley, he saw the fox entered and started looking for it. He spent 5 minutes in the alley, but he still didn't find the fox. He was about to give up when he heard something move in the trash can next to him. He opened it up, hoping to see the fox, but instead saw a rat inside eating something out of a can. Naruto quickly closed the lid and headed home. When he got in, he went out his window and sat on his roof. He looked up into the sky. I know what it feels like to be alone, wandering the streets in the middle of the night, hoping to find something to eat, Naruto said to himself. He knew even though it was just an animal, it didn't mean that it didn't have any feelings. Naruto kept looking at the sky while he hoped that the fox would be alright. Then he felt something small get on his lap. He looked down and saw that it was the little fox from earlier. He smiled at it as the fox looked back at him. His smile grew as he saw the fox with a wallet. Naruto then noticed it wasn't his wallet. In fact, it actually had more money than what he had in his old wallet. The only similarity was that fact that it was still a Gamma wallet. Wait, if this isn't my wallet, then whose is it? Naruto asked. Across the village in Tenzaku town, a white-haired man was looking for his wallet. He knew he had it, he saw it before he entered the village. Then he remembered he saw a small orange blur running around him. The orange blur must have been the thing who stole his wallet. He got angry, but then remembered that the security guard was waiting for the white-haired man to pay him. I swear I had it in here somewhere. He said to security guard. The security guard just grabbed him and threw him out of the gentleman's club. The white-haired man's face connected with the hard concrete with a sickening crack. And don't come back until you got enough money. The security guard said before closing the door and leaving Jiraiya outside, unconscious. Naruto picked up the fox and then it yawned. Naruto took the fox and walked back into his house. He got one of his pillows and put it on the floor next to his bed. Then he put the fox on it. Good night him, you need a name don't you? Okay then, how about Shouta? The fox shook its head, which still surprised Naruto to no end. Tasuki. Takeo. Suzaku. The fox shook its head at those names as well. Wait, are you even a boy? The fox shook its head. Okay then the fox shook her head again. Naruto spent half an hour trying to give the fox a name, but she didn't like any he had suggested. Okay, last one before I give up, how about Miyu? The fox made no motion, making Naruto think she liked it. So Miyu. The fox looked up at Naruto and made no indication of hating it. Naruto smiled and laid down on his bed. Miyu it is. He said before falling asleep. The signs of a new day made themselves known as the sun's light shone through the window into Naruto's room. It was too bright to ignore, which made Naruto wake up. Naruto slowly opened one eye and yawned. Soon, Naruto felt a small amount of pressure on his chest. He looked down and saw Miyu sleeping on his chest. He was about to get up and kick the fox out until he remembered yesterday night. He smiled at the memory and lay there, waiting for Miyu to get up. It didn't take that long, Miyu started moving and stretched. Then she yawned and scratched her left ear with her leg. Naruto laughed and picked up Miyu and set her back on his bed. He went to the bathroom and got ready for the day. When he came out, he was wearing a white shirt with a spiral-like shape in the middle, navy blue pants and blue ninja shoes. Come on Miyu, let's head out and see what happens today. Miyu yelped and followed Naruto out of the house. After he locked up, Naruto headed out and went to the park. While they were walking, Miyu was sitting on top of Naruto's head. People were talking about them as they passed by, saying things like ironic or so he finally figured it out and things similar to that. Naruto heard them all, and yet he didn't understand what they meant. After a moment's pondering over the matter he shrugged it off and they reached the park. Naruto and Miyu spent hours on the swing before Naruto decided to walk around the village. During his walk, he saw a boy with a black hair sitting near the edge of the dock. The boy looked up at Naruto and Naruto smiled at him. The kid ignored Naruto and kept looking at the water. Naruto pouted at him and kept walking. He just kept walking and walking until something hit him on the side of his head. He fell down and held his head in pain. He looked back and saw a drunken man looking extremely mad. The man said something, but he slurred when he spoke. Naruto didn't understand why he attacked him or what the man just said. The man then picked up a rock and threw it at Naruto with amazing accuracy. Naruto kept holding his head, trying to avoid taking too much damage. The man soon got help from two other drunken men, and the three started throwing whatever they could find at Naruto. Naruto shielded Miyu while the attack continued. As soon as it had started, it ended, confusing Naruto. He heard punches being thrown and 3 bodies hitting the ground. Then suddenly, someone picked Naruto by his collar and brought him to eye level. The man was about 30 to 35 years old. He wore a black mask that covered everything under his eyes that held hatred, pain and bloodlust. He wore a plain headband that went across his forehead, but he wasn't a ninja. He was also bald, about 6 feet tall, and had a red robe on. Underneath the robe, Naruto could tell he had 2 swords. The man was scary looking, some would say sinister, demonic even. And yet, Naruto didn't feel as scared as he thought he should be. What do you want? Naruto asked, making the man snarl. Why didn't you fight back? The man asked. Naruto didn't get why the man asked him that. What? Why didn't you fight back? Why were you just cowering down and letting them pelt you? Naruto didn't answer the man's question. He didn't exactly know why either, but he didn't want to tell the man that. He was brought out of his thought by the only word the man said. Pathetic. What? Are you calling me pathetic? Naruto asked angrily. The man sneered and let him go. Yes I am. You don't even fight back when people attack you for no reason. You're truly pathetic, a waste of my time. The man said before walking away. Hold on old man. Naruto yelled, making the man stop. He turned around and looked at Naruto. What is it that you want? Naruto looked down at the floor and hesitated. I was wondering how did you beat those men? he asked, pointing at the drunken men. The man raised an eyebrow, curiosity evident in his face. Why do you want to know? The man asked. Naruto looked up and the man saw determination in his eyes. He saw the eyes only great fighters and warriors have, something he didn't see every day. I want to know how to defend myself. I don't want to be pathetic, I know I'm not, but I need to show everyone that I'm not. So will you help me? Naruto inquired. The man thought about it, not knowing if he should agree or not. Well, I'm not sure. Meet me in the forest behind the park and we'll see if you have any fight in you. The man said before disappearing into a crowd. Naruto remained where he stood before he felt Miyu tugging on his foot. Naruto snapped out of it and headed for the park again. He ran as fast as he could and when he finally reached the forest behind the park, he saw a log cabin in the middle of a clearing. Naruto went up to the cabin and knocked on the door. But before he could hit the door, he heard someone yell, "Back here." Naruto wasn't sure if the voice was talking to him or not, but he went to the back of the cabin and saw the man from earlier sitting cross-legged and in front of him, 6 swords were stuck in the ground. The first sword had a magnificently white blade, engraved and styled to resemble a flame. The guard had been modeled to look like a pair of angel wings, inlaid with the kanji for passion. The second sword's guard resembled a butterfly, the engravings on the sharp blade so intricate in their design that it made Naruto's mouth hang open slightly. Its grip was made of a dark wood that looked warm and comforting, a feature that had the exact opposite feeling of the brutally sharp blade. The pommel bore a single topaz that glinted softly back at Naruto in the sunlight. The third sword had a jagged blade of a blue color, with a pattern made of triangles and zigzags engraved into it. It looked brutal, the serrated edge giving it the impression that if it was dragged across your skin, there wouldn't be a lot left. The guard was wave-shaped and its grip was formed like a tower. The fourth sword had a beautiful blade, almost as if made from pure amethyst. It was etched with a pattern made of waves and rectangles, and its grip was of a black metal set with moonstones and aquamarines, the pommel shaped like a skull. The fifth sword's guard was rectangle-shaped, its grip was of a black metal with a pattern composed of mesmerizing spirals inlaid into it. The pommel, however, was shaped like a globe, its smoothness a complete parallel of its mostly sharp-edged design. The last sword, however, caught Naruto's attention and heart as soon as he laid eyes on it. The weapon had a mysterious black blade, as dark as obsidian and yet as reflective as the most magnificent of metals. Dragons were engraved into the black surface in a deep blood red, and Naruto wouldn't have been surprised if the crimson veins were ruby. The guard resembled its wings, made of a black metal, and the grip was wrapped with bandages. The pommel was shaped like a vicious flame. Naruto didn't understand what he was supposed to do, but one thing was certain, the first and sixth sword caught his eye the most. The man gave Naruto a calculating stare before speaking. "Sit down in front of the blades," the man said. Naruto went in front of the swords and sat down, still wondering why he was there. "Now choose." Naruto's eyes widened and he looked at the man incredulous. "What? You want me to train you, right? Well, if you want me to train you, choose a sword," the man yelled. Naruto just sat there, not believing this man would let a child use something as dangerous as a sword. Naruto took Miyu out of his head and told her to go to a safe place. He didn't know where the man was going with this, but he felt like Miyu would be in danger if she'd stay on his head. Naruto then stood and picked up the first and sixth sword. Naruto thought they'd be heavy, but they were as light as the wooden handle of a broom. The man raised an eyebrow at this. "Do? How very unusual. Very well then, two it is," the man said as he stood up and picked up the third and fifth sword. He got into a battle stance Naruto's never seen before. The man had his right hand over his head with the sword pointing at Naruto. The man's left hand was in front of him, his sword diagonal to his body. And his feet were spread out and kept him steady. Naruto just looked at his swords and then back at the man. He had his eyes closed, looked like he was concentrating on something. Then, his eyes suddenly opened and he charged at Naruto. Naruto panicked, never having used a sword before in his life. Wait a minute. I don't know how to use a sword, let alone two," Naruto yelled, hoping to stop the man, but to no avail, the man just kept running at him. "No one told you to pick up two blades," the man yelled back. He swung the sword on his right. Naruto instinctively lifted the sword on his left and blocked the man's sword. This surprised the man for a second before he brought the other sword down in a vertical swing. Naruto again instinctively brought his right sword up to block his sword. Naruto recoiled back as he felt the strength the man used in his swing. Then the man kicked Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying back. Naruto stood up and dusted himself off. The man didn't move from where he stood. "What, are you done?" asked Naruto. When the man didn't answer, Naruto got mad. "Fine then, here I come." Naruto then ran at the man, who still didn't move. Naruto then vertically swung his right sword at the man, causing the man to block it and then forced it to get stuck on the ground. Naruto used his momentum to use the sword as a lift and kicked the man in the chest, sending him back about 2 steps. Then, while still in the air, Naruto used his other sword to swing another vertical strike at him. The man used both swords to block the strike. The man smirked at Naruto's determination and intonation. He's pretty smart for a brat. The man thought as he moved away from Naruto. You're pretty good for a brat, you know that. The man said, much to the annoyance of Naruto. I'm not a brat. Naruto screamed as he charged the man again. Stop. The man said, making Naruto stop in his tracks. He looked up confused by the man's action. What? Why? Naruto asked. The man struck both swords into the grounds, making them stand. He then walked over to Naruto and crouched down until he was at eye level with Naruto. Naruto also struck both swords into the ground. I thought you said you didn't know how to use a sword, let alone two. Were you lying to me? The man asked seriously. Naruto shook his head. I never did use a sword before. I'm not sure how I did all of this, I just did what first came to mind. He said, a bit confused himself. The man smirked at Naruto's words. That's good to hear, but if you want to prove to everyone that you're not pathetic, you might want to train more on your swordsmanship. The man said. Naruto smiled at his words and was about to say something, but the man said something first. Lucky for you, I am a great teacher. Naruto's smile grew and he bowed at the man. Thank you. Naruto stopped, he didn't even know the man's name. The man laughed as he knew why he stopped. Just call me Amir. Amir said as he walked into the cabin. Naruto laughed a little bit, attracting the attention of Amir. Does my name amuse you? He asked. Naruto immediately stopped laughing and stood up straight. No, I just never heard a name like that before. He said. The man looked at Naruto and then went back inside the cabin. Naruto followed him into the cabin which he guessed was Amir's home. When he entered, all he saw was a couch, a small TV, about 20 or so swords hanging on the wall and robes with a kanji for immortals on the back. Naruto looked at the robes for a long time before he felt a hand land on his shoulder. He looked up and saw Amir looking at the robes too. He had a distant look in his eyes. That is the robes we of the Immortals clan wear to show off our pride. We wore it mostly when we were Imperial Guards. Naruto saw a sad look go on Amir's face. Were? Naruto asked. Amir looked down and sighed. Yes, we were. I am the last of the Immortals clan. The rest died in a war not long ago. I survived only because they thought I died when I was really just unconscious. When I awoke, my brothers lay dead on the floor. I knew returning home would mean my death. I had no fear of dying, but I knew I was the last of my clan, so I set off to rebuild my clan. I ended up here. They say they saw me unconscious right outside Konoha's wall. Amir said as he thought back on the war against Greece. Naruto looked at the robes, then at Amir and then again at the robes. So you don't have a family anymore? Amir shook his head. Well, how do you become part of the Immortal clan? Amir smirked as he moved closer to the robes. It's not easy. To be an immortal you have to meet certain qualifications, which is said to be as worse as the infantry units. Naruto gulped as soon as he heard Amir's words. Naruto might not be the smartest boy alive, but he had heard of the infantry units some nations had. The infantry units have more physically demanding training than other branches of armies and place a greater emphasis on discipline, fitness, physical strength and aggression. So it's like that then? Amir nodded, his smirk never leaving his face. Naruto stood passively behind Amir, thinking about what he said. Then I don't care, I will do whatever you put in front of me, I will succeed, and I will be an immortal. Naruto said with as much determination as he always had. Amir's smirk grew and he looked back at Naruto. Then let's get started, but first we need to leave. Amir said as he walked into his bedroom. Leave? Naruto asked. Amir came back into the living room a couple of minutes later with a bag full of his stuff. Naruto looked on confused as to why he would pack all that stuff. Yeah, leave Konoha. Like I said, to be an immortal, there are certain qualifications you need to meet and we can't do that here. Now go home and pack, only bring the essentials. When you're done, meet me at the gates and we'll leave. Amir said as he walked out the door. Naruto followed after him. Wait, I have a question. Amir turned around and faced Naruto. Can I take Miyu? Sorry, I can't have you bring another person with us. She would only slow us down. Besides, bring a girl you like will only distract you. Amir answered before he walked away, leaving a blushing Naruto standing there. Miyu's not just some girl, Naruto said before Amir interrupted him. That's what they all say. Amir yelled. Naruto's blush grew and he growled. He picked up Miyu who was sleeping the whole time right outside Amir's back door and ran after Amir. He stopped when he was in front of him and held up Miyu to show Amir. I'm guessing this Miyu. Naruto nodded his head. Amir sighed. Come on, she won't slow us down, I promise. Naruto pleaded and Miyu gave Amir a puppy dog pout. Amir shook his head in defeat. Fine, but she better not slow us down. Amir said as he continued his walk while Naruto yelled yes. And ran home. He started packing his favorite orange jumpsuit and all the instant ramen he had. When he finished, he ran out and locked his door. He tried to run all the way to the gates, but stopped to take a breather. When he realized where he stopped, he started jumping for joy. Then he ran into Ichiraku's ramen shop. He ate 15 bowls before he decided to head off. He waved goodbye to Tucci and Am, the only two people he knew who didn't hate him, and told them he'd see them again someday. When he reached the gates, he noticed that Amir was talking to the two Chunin at the front desk. When he walked up to them, the two Chunins glared at him while Amir started walking out of the village. Naruto followed Amir. When he was close enough, Naruto asked him when they would return. "When the time is right," Amir said vaguely. Naruto asked him what that meant, but Amir wouldn't say. Naruto stayed quiet as they walked on, not knowing what to expect. Time skip 1 year. The blonde-haired masked kid walked limply as he headed for Konoha. He had an average black headband on his forehead and a black mask that covered everything under his eyes. He had a torn-up black coat with the kanji for immortal on the back. Blue flames embedded at the bottom which reached up to his ankles. He wore a blue long-sleeve shirt and black anbu pants and traditional ninja shoes. He also wore a yellow and silver arm guard on his right hand and blue fingerless gloves. But the things that made him different were the two swords tied to his pants by a brown belt, one on his left and one on his right. The pommel was yellow and the grip were wrapped in bandages. The sword's guard was also yellow and the sheath was gray. "Finally, I can go back home," the kid said. He was exhausted and wanted to go home. He had been training for a full year and it was finally time. Unfortunately, on his way home his master abruptly collapsed and the kid helped him go to the nearest hospital. Luckily, they passed a village not long ago. The doctor told the kid to wait outside while they examined his master. The doctor came back a couple minutes later to tell the kid his master would die from an incurable disease soon. The kid had broken down and cried for his master, though he didn't cry long, for he remembered his master's words. "To be an immortal, you must not be weak. No matter the situation, you must be strong." When the kid went to see his master in his last moments on earth, he left the kid with words that will forever live on in the kid. "Not matter what, don't ever leave a comrade behind. As part of the immortal clan, I expect you to have integrity and character. Besides skill, perseverance and heart, that is what makes a warrior so great. Be proud of who you have become and bring some pride into the immortal clan. Farewell, Naruto." A tear escaped Naruto's eye as he remembered his master's last words. I will bring pride into the immortal clan. Just you wait, Amir," Naruto said. He kept walking until he reached the front gates of Konoha. "Finally I'm here," Naruto said before collapsing from exhaustion. The two Chunin guards rushed to his side and called for some help. When medical ninja finally arrived, they lifted Naruto onto a stretcher and rushed him to the hospital. Disclaimer: I don't own Naruto. The sounds of long beeping could be heard in the background. The sounds of walking and murmurs could also be heard. Naruto was just confused. Why was he hearing this? Where was he? Wasn't he just outside Konoha's walls? So why was he hearing this when he should have been outside? Naruto opened his eyes to see what was going on and he saw doctors walking around with clipboards. They each looked nervous and frantic. It worried Naruto, but only a little bit. He turned his head to look at the time. It read 20 before 9. And right next to the clock was his swords, lying against the wall. Excuse me," Naruto said, attracting the attention of the other adults. "Where am I?" All the doctors came rushing at him and not only examining him, but also the equipment. The looks on the doctor's face were priceless. They each looked like Naruto had died and then came back to life. He wanted to laugh but decided to take this seriously. "Son, are you okay?" one doctor asked as he checked Naruto's forehead. Naruto tilted his head as he answered. "What do you mean?" "I feel great, a little sore, but great," Naruto said as he smiled. Even as he wore the mask, it was tight enough so you could see movement under it. "Do you know what just happened to you?" Naruto still didn't get where the doctor was going with this. He was just sleeping off the exhaustion, right? Naruto shook his head, hoping that one of the doctors will explain it to him. "Well, you see, when we recovered you, you fell into a deep coma." One doctor started to explain. "Then it started getting worse as the days passed until just a minute ago where you," another doctor started but couldn't finish. She didn't really want to think about it. Naruto looked at the doctor as if asking her to continue. Instead, the first doctor spoke up. "You died not long ago. The monitor read that your heart stopped beating. We thought you were dead." The doctor finished explaining. "Oh," Naruto said as he looked out the window with a solemn expression. Then, out of nowhere, he started laughing. He laughed and laughed until he was red in the face, and even then he didn't stop. Doctors and nurses alike looked on in disbelief that a boy who had just heard that he died not long ago was laughing about it. Many were curious and wanted to ask why he was laughing, but suddenly, a gust of wind came into the room, causing all in the room to cover their eyes. When they put down their arms, they saw that Naruto and his stuff were gone. The wind blowing from the open window animated the curtain hanging over it. One doctor turned to a nurse nearby. "Go to the Hokage and tell him the masked boy has escaped." He said he wanted to speak to the boy when he awoke and now we don't even have the boy. The doctor yelled and the nurse left in a hurry. Naruto was walking down the street that led away from the hospital. If there was something he didn't miss from Konoha, it was the hospital. Yes, because of his accidents as so many villagers call it, the hospital was like his second home. But that didn't mean he liked the place. Half of the works didn't like him, they either ignored him or acted rather rude towards him. The other thing was the food. He always wondered why they never served ramen. It was a delicious meal and was pretty cheap. Some people can be so stupid sometimes. Then he thought back on the doctor's face and what they told him. He laughed aloud, attracting many of the passing people's attention and looking at him weirdly, but he didn't care. He hit the nail right on the head with his guess that he died. He knew he shouldn't have laughed, but it was too funny not to. As he kept walking, he wondered how exactly he came back to life after he died. He stopped walking and started concentrating. He suddenly appeared in a sewer-like place. It was colorless except for all the dark yellow and shade. In front of him, he saw a cage similar to a jail cell and a piece of paper with the word seal imprinted on it. Then, two eyes appeared out of the abyss in the cage and a mouth came right after it. The eyes were a crimson red and held rage, hatred, pain and bloodlust. Something he had only seen in one other person. Was that your doing? Naruto thought. A sinister-like laugh echoed in Naruto's head. Naruto sighed, he hated how dramatic it got sometimes. Yes, that was me. I couldn't just let you die now could I, Kyuubi said as he showed his fangs in his smile. Naruto has known of Kyuubi for more than half a year now. It happened one day during his training that he met Kyuubi. He sighed as he remembered exactly how he met him. Flashback, Naruto was walking alongside his master Amir as they headed for a river nearby. They started Naruto's training less than 6 months ago and he was starting to get used to it. Amir had Naruto work on his upper and lower strength at the beginning of the training. It wasn't until a month ago Amir thought it was good enough to take a break from it. So now, he was teaching Naruto how to meditate. Unfortunately, this was something Naruto didn't was to learn. I don't want to. Naruto yelled. Amir's eyebrow twitched as a vein popped out of his head. Well, too bad, brat, if you want me to continue training you, you're going to have to meditate. Amir replied as calmly as he could. Naruto looked at Amir's face and saw that he was serious. He sighed in defeat as he sat cross-legged and meditated. He opened his eyes to see that he was in a hallway. The floor was flooded with water, but he didn't really want to know where it came from. He looked up and saw a lot more hallways, stretching out to who knows where. Naruto didn't know where he was, but he did know where he was, it was vast and spacious. He didn't know why, but he decided to walk around the hallways. He walked for a while before he saw a red flash coming from a room to his left. He walked over to it and saw a huge jail-like cage. The word seal imprinted on a paper hanging on the cage. He walked closer to the cage and then a claw appeared out of the darkness and tried to strike him. Luckily for him, Amir trained on Naruto's reflexes and now he's as fast as Jonin. Naruto looked into the darkness and saw nothing but the claw that almost mauled him. It retracted into the cage and two sinister eyes and a gigantic mouth appeared. Naruto flinched under its gaze but soon snapped out of it and looked at the creature straight in the eyes. The creature then chuckled, which echoed throughout the cavern. So you dare look at me in the eye, asked the mighty creature. Inside, Naruto was shaking with fear, but his outer appearance remained passive. Yes, I do. Now who are you? And where am I? Naruto said coldly. If there was one thing he'll never forget was the way Amir talked to people that annoyed him. Naruto soon got into the habit of talking like that when he was annoyed or when he spoke to arrogant people. All that did though was make the mighty creature laugh. Who am I? Who am I? I am the mighty nine-tailed fox, but you, my lowly host, can call me Kyuubi. And, as far as where you are in your mind. Kyuubi finished with a menacing smile. Naruto's eyes widened. Why you mean Kyuubi? The one who attacked the village 5.5 years ago? I thought the 4th Hokage finished you off. Naruto said. Kyuubi just scoffed. HN. The 4th Hokage was a fool and a weakling. He couldn't defeat so he went with the next best thing, he sealed me inside a weak brat by the name of Naruto. By the fact that you're here, I have to guess that you're Naruto, right? Naruto nodded dumbly because that was all he could do as he was still shocked. The 4th Hokage sealed the Kyuubi away in me? This was the only thought going through Naruto's head. The Kyuubi slammed his front paw into the ground to get Naruto's attention. But because of the force Kyuubi used to get his attention, Naruto ended up falling on his butt. Hey. Watch what you're doing, you furball. Naruto yelled as he snapped out of his daze. Kyuubi chuckled, once again making the echoes go throughout the halls. You got some guts talking to me like that, brat. Kyuubi said while Naruto tried to calm himself down. Then he had a sudden thought. So this is the reason people hate me. Naruto concluded sadly. Kyuubi just stared at Naruto before he closed his eyes and let out a loud exhale. Yes, I am the reason why you're despised in your own village. I have been able to whatever you've been able to see, don't ask, it's complicated. Kyuubi said when he saw Naruto looking like he wanted to ask how. Naruto remained quiet as he let Kyuubi go on. As I was saying, I saw everything you saw, even everything that you heard. At first, I laughed every time something bad happened to you. Like that one time you thought the wind pushed the can of red paint over and made you red. I actually saw some drunken man push it over from the corner of your eye. Though I got to say, it was hilarious that you couldn't get the paint off you for a week. Naruto stared angrily at Kyuubi as he saw the smile appear on his face. That to the point, what are you trying to say? Naruto asked. Kyuubi then got serious as he continued. What I'm trying to say is Kyuubi mumbled something that sounded like call Harvey. Naruto was confused by this. Sorry, I don't know any Harveys. Naruto said innocently. Kyuubi loudly exhaled before he spoke louder. I said I'm sorry, not call Harvey. What the hell kind of name is that? Naruto laughed a little at his words. When he composed himself, he faced Kyuubi and walked closer to him. What are you sorry for? I didn't mean to cause you harm, well, at least, not now. Naruto looked at Kyuubi, a puzzled expression planted on his face. So why did you attack the village? Naruto asked curiously. Well, that's just it, I don't know. I just happened to have walked near Konoha when suddenly, a man appeared in front of me. He was an odd man and a crazy one too to have just appeared in front of me. And he had the audacity to look at me straight in the eye. After that, it was a blur. When I awoke, I was already in this cage. I'm positive that the man was responsible for my attack on your village. If I could, I'd go find this man and rip him apart. Naruto just stood passively in front of the cage bars, contemplating Kyuubi's words. I want to help you. I want to help you find this man and get back at him. Naruto said, which somewhat interested Kyuubi. He knew if a man can do that to him, Naruto wouldn't stand a chance against the man. But first, I want you to train me. Now Naruto grabbed Kyuubi's interest. And what kind of help am I to you? Kyuubi asked. As far as I know, you have an unprecedented amount of chakra, right? Kyuubi sighed. I know where you're going with this and I can't do it. Kyuubi said. Why not? Look, with you chakra and intelligence, you'll be able to teach me all about ninjutsu and jinjutsu. I'm already doing taijutsu with Amir, all I'm missing is those two. And besides, the faster I become stronger, the faster I'll be able to stop that guy who made you attack the village. What do you say? Naruto inquired. Kyuubi wondered if he affected Naruto too much because he was able to say all that in one breath. I don't know, what I know is dangerous for a mortal to know. How do I know you won't be killed just by trying to do it, brat? Naruto's smirk matched that of a cunning fox. Because soon enough, I will be part of the immortal clan, the toughest clan to have existed. I will not die from what you have to teach me. Kyuubi smirked at Naruto's confidence and pride. He's an interesting one, I'll give him that. Alright, fine, I suppose it wouldn't hurt me. You though, that's a different story. I don't care, so when do we start? Naruto asked excitedly. He felt so happy that now he'll be able to get even stronger. As soon as you head back to Konoha. Naruto's face fell at Kyuubi's answer. Why wait until then? Naruto asked angrily. For one thing, I'm sure your little mind won't be able to handle the train I got in mind, plus the one that other guys got. Now go away, I'm tired and I need my sleep. That was the last thing he said before he kicked Naruto out of his mind. Flashback end. Now that I remember, weren't you supposed to train me as soon as we got home? Naruto asked Kyuubi. Yeah, I remember, but how about first giving me a break? Healing you up takes a lot of chakra and besides, I don't feel like doing anything right now. Kyuubi replied. Naruto's sweat dropped and started to mentally complain about how lazy Kyuubi was and how unfair he was being. He then felt something running straight at him. He turned around just fast enough to see a familiar orange blur running straight at him. He caught the blur and looked at it. Miyu was in his hands with a happy expression on her face. Surprisingly enough, she stayed the same size she was last year. Naruto would have guessed she would at least be an inch or two taller, but no. Hey there Miyu, where you been? Actually, don't answer that. Come on, I'm hungry and I want some ramen. Miyu yipped happily before following after her master and partner. Over the last year, Naruto and Miyu have been working together to create a fighting style, which included having them both fighting simultaneously. Unfortunately, they still haven't figured out how to do that. When they reached Ichiraku's, Naruto walked in with a girl around his age with long black hair. She had dark red eyes and wore a red kimono with a black obi. Her kimono covered her feet, but by the sounds of it, she was barefoot. What would you like to eat, Naruto? Oh. And who is this? Tucci asked, wiggling his eyebrow. This is going to be fun. He thought. Naruto smiled under his mask as he spoke. Give me a pork ramen and Miyu here wants a chicken. Naruto ordered. Who is this, your girlfriend? AM asked as she came out of the kitchen. Naruto blushed a little, but thanks to his mask, no one saw it. Something like that. He answered. Then Miyu licked Naruto in the cheek, causing his blush to deepen enough that Tucci and AM could see it. Aw, he's blushing. AM said after she squealed when she saw the interaction between Naruto and Miyu. Naruto just looked down and Miyu just had a small smile on her face. "Can I just get me food to go please?" Naruto asked nervously. Tucci nodded his head as AM continued to make fun of Naruto by making kissing faces. Luckily, she didn't do it for long because her father called her into the kitchen. Naruto did a quick sigh before turning to Miyu. "Come on. What was that?" Miyu just shrugged, something about that told Naruto that she just felt like it. He sweat dropped but composed himself as he saw Tucci return with his and Miyu's ramen. "Here you are. 1 chicken and pork enjoy." Tucci yelled. Naruto smirked as he got both ramens. After he paid for it, he made a hand sign and Tucci and AM heard Naruto yell release. A sudden poof got their attention and after the smoke cleared, they saw a small fox, no bigger than a shoe sit where Miyu once stood. Tucci's eyes widened and his mouth dropped as AM just reached down and started petting the fox. "Oh. She's so cute." AM squealed while she got Miyu in a death grip. Miyu was struggling to get free, but every attempt made was pointless, she wasn't going anywhere for some time now. She looked to Naruto for assistance, but all she saw was Naruto laughing on the ground. When Naruto had enough, he stood up and grabbed Miyu from AM's death grip. He then put her on top of his head since she seems to like it up there. He still had tears coming out of his eyes from all that laughing. By the time they left the ramen shop, the sun was already going down. "Hey Kyuubi. Sun's going down, can we train now? I let you rest for what, an hour or two now?" Naruto asked Kyuubi, waking him up from his sleep. "Kid, you have a bad sense of time, you know that." Naruto shook his head. "Well, you do because it's only been 25 minutes." Naruto heard Kyuubi sigh. "I guess I might as well seeing as you probably won't let me go back to sleep." Naruto jumped for joy as he headed for Amir's home. During his training, Amir told Naruto that if he ever needed to train, he could always head for his house. As he entered the clearing behind the park, he saw his late master's home. He stared passively at it, the memories passing by him by the second. He shook his head as he walked closer to the cabin. He walked to the backyard and saw the swords from the first day he met Amir. The 6 swords were still there, though only the 4 swords he and Amir used were still in great shape. The 2 they didn't use were rusty and had some kind of moss growing on it. Naruto picked up the 4 swords and went inside Amir's house. He went into the room he guessed was Amir's room and laid the swords against the walls. He returned outside and sat down in front of the 2 remaining swords. Miyu jumped off his head and ran deeper into the woods. He crossed his legs and started meditating. He opened his eyes and saw the familiar cage with the familiar fox inside, sleeping. "Hey fox, wake up." Naruto yelled to wake the sleeping demon fox. He opened up one eye and groaned as he sat up. "Damn, and I was having such a quiet dream." Naruto's vein popped out, he was starting to lose his patience with Kyuubi. Kyuubi then moved closer to the cage and looked at Naruto. "So, what is it you want to learn now? I already taught you how to use a simple genjutsu and the basics to chakra. Now what?" Kyuubi asked lazily. He'd rather be asleep than do this, but he knew Naruto wouldn't let him do that. "The brat's too loud to let me have a moment of peace and quiet," he thought. "An actual jutsu. I'm already old enough to enter the academy and I want to be ahead of everyone. I want to be recognized as the smartest and most powerful one in my class," Naruto said with a lot of determination. "Sorry, that's not going to happen." "What? Why not?" Naruto asked, confused by Kyuubi's words. "Because you're not smart, period." Kyuubi answered, causing Naruto to do a face vault. He got up and started yelling at the fox. "Don't get smart with me and just teach me something." "You don't have to yell," Kyuubi screamed back. "Fine, I'll teach you something that won't kill you and easy to learn. You remember what I told you about chakra and how you can use it to do jutsus?" Naruto nodded his head. He hated the lectures he had to endure when he learned about chakra. He kept falling asleep when Kyuubi tried to explain it, but he eventually got it down. "Yes, I even remember word for word what you said. To perform a jutsu, a ninja will need to bring out and release their chakra. By forming hand seals, a ninja is able to manifest the desired jutsu. Because of the extensive number of hand seals and different combinations, there are thousands of potential jutsu to be discovered. Based on which jutsu the ninja uses, the type and amount of chakra will be different, as would the elements you would be to employ." Kyuubi nodded his head. "Very impressive," Kid Kyuubi started to say, but was interrupted by Naruto. "The 5 main elemental styles are also the 5 names for the 5 great shinobi countries. Fire, wind, lightning, earth and water. Naruto, stop messing around with that snail and stick your finger out of your nose." "Okay, I get it, you listen. Now shut up and listen to me," Kyuubi ordered, silencing Naruto. "Now, what I'm about to teach you is something I don't want you to use unless necessary. This is called fox fire. It's a technique taught to the younger generation of foxes before they go into the harder stuff. Usually, the fire would automatically burn anything and everything it touches, including the one who summoned it. But thanks to me, you won't burn up hopefully. Kyuubi said, saying the last part lowly. But Naruto heard it, making him gulp. Okay, so how's it work? Naruto asked nervously. He wasn't entirely sure if he wanted to go through with this if there was chance of getting himself killed. Okay, well you know how we both have different chakras. Well, it's simple really, and it'll help with your chakra control. I want you to concentrate your chakra to your hand and then use my chakra to quickly apply it to the chakra in your hand. Naruto tilted his head. Apply it? Yes, just imagine this like lighting a match. My chakra is the match. When you quickly apply it to or rub it against the chakra in your hands, it'll create a friction, so to speak, and turn the chakra in your hands into foxfire. Now get out and practice. Naruto nodded his head in understanding and disappeared. He opened his eyes again and saw that he was back in the real world. He looked up and noticed that the sun was gone. He figured it was probably from 9 to 10 in the night. Naruto stood up and started stretching. After he finished, he started concentrating his chakra to his hand. When he felt like it was good enough, he looked for Kyuubi's chakra. He got it and then quickly applied it to the chakra in his hand. Suddenly, he saw a small green fire appear in the center of his hand. It was no bigger than a dime, but to Naruto, it was good enough. He spent most of the night practicing this move. Each time, he applied a little more of the fox's chakra until he collapsed. Miyu appeared into the clearing a minute after Naruto collapsed and moved closer to him. She then sat on top of his chest and fell asleep as well. Time, skip. It's been a week and a half and Naruto has been working hard on the foxfire technique. The flame keeps growing, but nothing big enough to impress Kyuubi. That didn't stop him though, every day he would keep practicing and practicing. But today, he would have to skip out on the training because today was the day he attended the academy. Somehow he managed to convince the Hokage to find a way to let him get in. It took 3 days for the third Hokage to convince the council to let Naruto in the academy. How he did it, Naruto didn't care, as long as he attended, that's all that mattered. Now, Naruto was walking to school. He wore the same black mask, blue long-sleeve shirt, black anbu-like pants, shoes and gloves that he wore every day. He decided to take off the headband he usually wore and left his swords and long coat at home, his new home. He moved into Amir's house a day after he left the hospital. He took the guest room right down the hall from Amir's old room. Now, he felt helpless without his swords, but he knew he'd probably have them taken up if he took those to school. He soon saw the school in the horizon and the other kids with their parents dropping them off. He tried to ignore the feeling he had in his stomach as he walked past the many adults and their children. He saw many of their glares, all were directed to him. Apparently, even with the mask people still recognized him. But not all glared at him. There was one adult who smiled at him. She had black hair and black eyes. She was at least 5'5" from what he could tell. Her son, who also had black hair and eyes, also gave Naruto a small smile. Naruto stopped for a moment before walking to the only pair who didn't seem to hate him. "Good morning, ma'am." Naruto yelled enthusiastically. The woman just smiled at Naruto, while the little boy sort of flinched at Naruto's yell. "Good morning, young man." The woman replied. "Hey, are you going to go to school here?" Naruto asked the boy. The boy nodded and Naruto smiled. "We'll see ya inside." "Have a nice day, ma'am," Naruto said as he entered the academy. The woman waved and then turned to her son. "Looks like you already have a friend, Sasuke," the woman said. Sasuke nodded again. "Yes, mother, it seems like it." Naruto walked through the hallways, looking for his class. Every class door had a list on it with the names of the students studying in that class. He kept looking for his name and then he bumped into someone, causing him to fall on his butt. He looked up and saw a boy a year older looking at him with disgust. It was weird, he had no pupils and had long brown hair. He also wore a brown headband over his forehead. "Hey Chen. You should watch where you're walking. If you're not careful someone could get hurt," the older kid said as he walked past Naruto. Naruto immediately shot up and went after the kid. When he found him, he forcefully turned him around. But he didn't expect the kid to turn quickly and hit him in the chest with an open palm. Naruto once again fell on his behind. "What the hell, man?" Naruto yelled at the kid. The kid just turned around and started walking away. After a couple steps, he stopped and turned his head slightly at Naruto's direction. "I warned you already that if you're not careful, someone could get hurt. Next time, I won't hold back." And he started walking away. Naruto would have gone after him, but he heard a bell go off. It took him a second to realize that it was a warning bell, meaning he only had 2 minutes to find his class. He got up quickly and started looking for his class. A minute and 35 seconds later, he still couldn't find his class. Luckily, there were only 3 classes left to check. He looked to the left and read the list for his name. No, that's not me, nope, haha, that's a funny name, but no, nah, damn. He went to the list on the right and repeated the process. Still nothing, that only left the classroom and the end of the hall. He let out a sigh of relief as he walked to the door. As soon as his hand touched the doorknob, the late bell went off. He sweat dropped at his luck and opened the door. He saw the teacher was standing in front of the class. He had his hair up in a knot and had a scar, it went from one cheek, over his nose and ended at the other cheek. Naruto looked at his left and saw 8 desks, 4 on the left side of the room and 4 on the right side. It appeared to him that each desk held 3 to 4 students. "Ah, so you must be Naruto Uzumaki. Come on in and take a seat," the teacher instructed. Naruto nodded and went to the only open seat, which was in between a girl with dark blue hair and a kid who was watching the clouds outside the window. When he sat down, he noticed the girl didn't have any pupils, just like the older kid who attacked him. What's up with the no pupil thing? Are they sick or something? Naruto thought. No, it's a Dijutsu. By the way you described their eyes, they're from the Hyuga clan. Interesting, it seems you have a Hyuga as a classmate. We'll see how great the Hyuga clan really is. Naruto heard Kyuubi say. He got it right away. He once heard adults talking about how someone tried to steal one of their members. For what, Naruto didn't know. All he knows is that that isn't right. He put both elbows on the desk and then laid his head on his hands. He turned his head to get a better look at the girl next to him. He caught his teacher giving out his name, Haruka Amino. He started talking about something, but Naruto just ignored it. He just kept looking at the girl next to him, trying to connect her with the kid he ran into earlier. She caught him watching her and blushed, though she didn't let him know she saw him. Instead, she just spoke quietly and started playing with her fingers. Is there something I can help you with? She asked quietly, almost too quiet for Naruto to hear, but he heard it. Oh no, nothing really, but do you know another boy that has no pupils? She gasped and looked at him, but then looked back down at her hands. Why yes. He's my sea cousin. She replied. Naruto raised his head and turned his whole body to face the girl. Your cousin, really? Is he always a jerk or was today just an off day for him? I wouldn't say jerk, but he isn't always nice. She answered. Oh, by the way, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. What's yours? Naruto asked with a smile and held his hand out to shake her hand. The girl hesitantly took his hand and shook it. Hinata Hyuga. She replied with a smile of her own. Nice to meet you. Naruto said loudly, attracting the attention of his other classmates in Iruka. A vein popped out of Iruka's head and he threw a piece of chalk at Naruto. Naruto instinctively picked up the pencil that was on his desk and blocked the chalk, surprising everyone, even Iruka. Oh, sorry Iruka-sensei, you were saying? Naruto asked innocently. Iruka got over the shock and composed himself. He continued talking about what they were going to work on while attending the academy. Naruto tuned him out and let his head rest on his hands, he didn't think school would be this boring. Naruto had never been as happy as he was after school. All they did was sit down and listen as Iruka talked on and on about the basics of chakra. I already know what that is. Aw, why does he keep talking and talking and talking? I'm sure everyone didn't listen to everything he said. Naruto thought aloud. Wrong, I heard everything Iruka-sensei had to say and it'll be every useful when we become actual ninjas. Naruto turned to the direction he heard the voice. He saw a pink-haired girl with a red ribbon on her head. She looked somewhat smug about what she said which Naruto didn't really understand why. Really? That's cool of you, but I didn't listen to a word after my name's Haruka Amino. Naruto replied lazily. This got the pink-haired girl angry and she threw a fist at Naruto's head. He dodged it, which caused her to miss and trip on her own feet. Lucky for her, she got her balance before she hit the floor. She turned around and threw another fist at Naruto. He ducked her fist, noticing how sloppy her taijutsu was. This happened repeatedly until she got tired. Naruto just stood in front of her as she tried to regain her breath. Well, I'd like to say that was fun, but it wasn't. He started walking away and waved goodbye to the girl. Maybe next time you'll hit me. See you later. The girl tried to yell at Naruto, but she was too tired to grunt, let alone yell. Naruto was glad he didn't have to hurt the girl. She might have been mean, but that didn't mean he had to hurt her. He put his arms behind his head as he walked home to train. He ran into Ichiraku's and decided to get some ramen. Hey old man Tucci. Naruto greeted. Tucci waved and Am came into the room with Miyu in another death grip. Naruto's sweat dropped and laughed nervously. Haha, thanks for taking care of Miyu for me Am. No problem Naruto. She's welcome back anytime. She said. Naruto pried Miyu from Am and put her on the floor next to his seat. Miyu started breathing deeply and fell on her side, motionless. Drama queen. Naruto said quietly. Miyu got up and barked at Naruto. Okay, sorry. Naruto ate 16 bowls of ramen before deciding to head home. It was 7 in the afternoon, so Naruto decided to rest a bit before training. He sat down on the couch in his living room and watched some TV. He didn't get why people would enter in some contest on TV and embarrass themselves on live TV. He continued watching TV for another hour or so before he fell asleep with Miyu lying next to him. Naruto felt something licking his face and soon woke up. He saw Miyu on top of him and then jump off to walk to the door. Naruto sat up and saw that she wanted to go outside. He looked at the time and saw that it was 9:10. He yawned, stretched and went to open the door. He saw Miyu sprint out the door and into the woods. "Well, I might as well train now," he said as he turned off the TV and left the house. "Okay, concentrate." Chakra started to gather in his right hand. When he felt he had enough, he added Kyuubi's chakra and suddenly, green light lit up the clearing. In his hands, Naruto had a decent-sized foxfire. "Pretty good, kid. Nice job," Kyuubi said, making Naruto do a stupid-looking dance. "Now put it out and try it again." This caused Naruto to stop his dancing and made him face vault. "Why? I did it, didn't I?" he questioned. "Yes you did, but I want to see if you can do it more than one time. You know, to make sure it's not a fluke," Kyuubi explained. "Fine." Naruto put out the fire in his hand and reapplied chakra to his hand. When he felt that it was ready he applied Kyuubi's chakra again, this time, it seemed to be bigger than last time. "Yes, I can do it," Naruto yelled. He put it out and tried it again and again. It didn't grow any bigger, but it did stay the same size. Naruto didn't care, he was just glad he could do it. All that training paid off. Naruto decided to take a walk to a small river in a clearing on the other side of the village to cool him off. He set 2 fingers into his mouth and whistled. A minute later, Miyu came dashing into the clearing and jumped on Naruto's shoulder. "Come on Miyu, we're going to the river you like so much," he said to Miyu, making her yelp in excitement. "Come on, let's go now. It's midnight, they're probably all asleep," a man said as he hid in the shadows with his comrade. They both hid in a tree across the street of a huge mansion. "I'm not sure, I feel like we shouldn't do this. I mean, it didn't work 3 years ago, what makes you think it'll work this time?" another man said. The first man slapped the back of the head of the second man. "Because they won't be expecting a second attempt. Now are you with me on this or are you just going to complain?" the first man asked. The second man sighed and nodded his head. "Fine, whatever, let's just do this already." Both men nodded to each other and then jumped off the tree. Both determined to get this over with as they headed for the Hyuga mansion. "Last time on Naruto of the Immortal Clan. Come on, let's go now. It's midnight, they're probably all asleep," a man said as he hid in the shadows with his comrade. They both hid in a tree across the street of a huge mansion. "I'm not sure, I feel like we shouldn't do this. I mean, it didn't work 3 years ago, what makes you think it'll work this time?" another man said. The first man slapped the back of the head of the second man. "Because they won't be expecting a second attempt. Now are you with me on this or are you just going to complain?" the first man asked. The second man sighed and nodded his head. "Fine, whatever, let's just do this already." Both men nodded to each other and then jumped off the tree. Both determined to get this over with as they headed for the Hyuga mansion. Hinata was lying in her bed, trying to go to sleep. She tried many ways to fall asleep, but she just couldn't. Her mind would wander to Naruto, the kid she just met. She wondered why he kept popping into her thoughts, but thought it was nothing. She also wondered how he knew her cousin. He had just randomly asked her if she knew another boy without pupils. She would have to find out if she ever had the confidence to speak to someone. She sighed as she thought of how disappointed her father would sometimes get when she didn't do as well as he had hoped. She was just thankful her mother was around, she always made Hinata feel better. Hinata sat up, she thought she heard something outside her window, but nothing was there. She got off her bed and then looked out her window, still nothing. She shrugged it off as nothing and went to her bed. She was suddenly tired and looked up at her ceiling. Her last thought before sleeping was the strange masked boy. "You idiot, she heard you," a man quietly yelled at his partner. "It's not my fault, it's too dark to see every little leaf, stick and rock," the second man retorted. The first man sighed as he continued making his way to Hinata's room. The first man turned to the second man. "Place the silence jutsu over this room so we don't have problems with the girl." The second man nodded and started doing hand seals. After that, he touched the window to Hinata's room and a barrier appeared then disappeared. The second man nodded and the first man opened the window and went inside. He grabbed Hinata and stuffed her in a cloth bag. She woke up and immediately started panicking. She struggled in the man's grasp, but the man ignored it as he jumped out the window, then he knocked Hinata out. He didn't want her to make any noise while they escaped. "I got the girl, let's go before we're caught," the first man said and started running for the village gate with the second man behind him. They ran through the woods as they headed for the gates, they didn't want to walk into other people and get caught. As they ran they noticed how a lot of stores were still open. One particularly caught the eye of the second man. "Don't even think about it you pervert. We deliver the girl first, after that I don't care what you do," the first man commanded. When they reached the gate, they saw two Chunin asleep. They scoffed at their incompetence and rushed past them. The second man smiled widely knowing they were home free and had the Hyuga bloodline. The first man also couldn't hide his smirk, they had done something the previous Cloud Ninja couldn't pull off. As soon as they stepped into Kumagakure, they would be seen as heroes. They couldn't wait to get home. After running for a minute, the first man stopped near a river to rest. He put Hinata next to him as he sat at the edge of the river. "Would you stop?" the second man asked. The first man was trying to regain his breath before he answered. "I'm not as young as you are and besides I haven't been out on a mission in a while and I'm still getting used to the physical labor I have to use for this. It's not every day I go out to kidnap someone." The second man rolled his eyes and sat down on a log while he waited for his partner to rest. The first guy splashed some water in his face and felt a little better but still wanted to rest. Naruto and Miyu walked into the clearing with the river and sat near the edge. Naruto took off his shoes and soaked his feet into the river. Miyu crouched down and started drinking some water. "Ah, this is the life, isn't Miyu?" Miyu stopped drinking for a second to yip in agreement. "I don't know what that means, but this water feels great." Naruto laid back and looked up at the sky. He enjoyed watching the stars at night. It was like a sort of hobby he grew into after always collapsing from training and waking up to see stars in the sky. Then the moon caught his eye. He looked at the moon closely and it reminded him of something. It was something that he couldn't remember and it was annoying him. He didn't understand why he couldn't remember what it reminded him of. Naruto then hears splashing and sits up. He sees Miyu drowning while the current takes her downstream. Naruto instantly gets up and runs after her. Miyu is barely able to stay afloat and Naruto was running out of ideas, so he goes with his instinct and jumps in after her. He quickly gets her and holds on. After he resurfaces, he holds Miyu up high so she wouldn't get wet. As he kept going downstream, he looks for something to grab onto. He saw a rock in the middle of the stream and swam to it. He held on as the river's current suddenly became stronger. Naruto knew to get out he had to use both hands, so he put Miyu on his head and got on top of the rock. He balanced himself and quickly jumped off the rock and onto land. He fell on the floor and started laughing quietly. "I made it," he said and checked on Miyu. She was alright, she just was asleep. Naruto made sure all the water left her body. Luckily for him, Amir thought him a way to resurrect someone besides CPR. He heard leaves rustling and grabbed Miyu as he went into the bushes to hide. He saw two men appear, both wearing black clothing. One of them had a bag with feet coming out, which immediately got his attention. The man with the bag over his shoulder looked around 40 to 45 and his partner looked like he was 20. Black clothing, person in a bag, all in the middle of the night. Yup, it's a kidnapping. Naruto thought. Then he heard them start talking. "Would you stop?" the second man asked. "I'm not as young as you are and besides I haven't been out on a mission in a while and I'm still getting used to the physical labor I have to use for this. It's not every day I go out to kidnap someone." Naruto's sweat dropped at the man's answer. Of course. Naruto thought before thinking of a plan to save whoever was in the bag. He tried to think of something, but nothing came to mind. "Want some help, kid?" Kyuubi said in Naruto's mind. "How can you help?" "I can temporarily take over your body and get rid of these men." Kyuubi answered. "No thanks, I'll do this my way." "What way?" "You don't even have a plan yet." "I'll think of something." Naruto went back to think of a plan. He then assessed the situation. Let's see, two mysterious men have a child in a bag. They are ninja and look to be above Chunin. I am a 6-year-old boy who was trained in the ways of the immortals and swordsmanship but left my swords at home. I have 3 kunai and 7 shuriken. I know a couple of genjutsus, how to use foxfire and a sleeping fox. Now what does that mean? Naruto let his head hang down. That means I'm screwed. Suddenly he thought of a plan. He smirked mischievously at the thought of his plan. "Hey Miyu, wake up," Naruto said quietly as he lightly shoved Miyu. She woke up and quickly stood up. She was about to bark, but Naruto quickly covered her mouth and placed a finger over his mouth. "Shh, relax. Now, there's something I want you to do." Naruto whispered something into Miyu's ear. Miyu looked doubtful, but Naruto told her that as soon as it looked bad, to run to Konoha and alert the guards. She nodded and Naruto smirked. "Now to put operation. Save the damsel is a go," Naruto said. The first man sighed as he lay back on a log while the second man's foot was fidgeting. He was getting tired of waiting for his partner to rest and was starting to lose his patience. "Are you good enough to go now?" the second man asked the first. The first man just shook his head. "Be patient, it's still the middle of the night and we covered our tracks. There's nothing to worry or panic about," he said calmly. The second man was about to say something else, but suddenly, a bush across from them started moving. Both men stood and gripped their kunai. "Get out now, we know you're there." Before they could throw their kunai, a voluptuous woman appeared. She had black hair that reached the small of her back, red eyes that could mesmerize any man, and a red kimono. Her kimono was tattered and barely keeping her assets covered. She fluttered her eyelashes repeatedly at the men in front of her. Both men dropped their kunai and drooled over the goddess who stood in front of them. The woman blushed and took a step back. Both men took 2 steps forward and slowly walked a little closer. The goddess started walking backwards in a seductive way, moving deeper into the woods. Their desire of being with the goddess got the better of them and they charged right after her. Naruto jumped out of the bushes the goddess appeared from with Miyu on his head. Haha perverts. Naruto said before opening the bag to see who it was inside. He was surprised to see that it was Hinata in the bag, though he couldn't remember her name. She's that girl in my class, damn, what was her name? It's on the tip of my tongue, oh yeah, Hinata. He started to shake, hoping to wake the sleeping girl. Hinata woke up to see a blonde-haired masked boy over her. It took her a while to register who he was, where she was and what was happening. She sat up quickly and blushed. Naruto, what are you doing in my room? She asked timidly. Naruto tilted his head and raised an eyebrow. Your room? Hinata, look around, we're outside. Her eyes widened as she looked around and saw that he was right. You were being kidnapped, but don't worry, Naruto Uzumaki of the Immortal clan is here to save you. Naruto said proudly as he pointed his thumb to himself. Hinata looked at Naruto and saw him in a different light than she had earlier. She blushed and then noticed how close they were. It was right there and then when she started something that won't be undone until she grew way older, she fainted in Naruto's presence. Naruto panicked when he saw Hinata's eyes closing. He noticed her face grow red and was about to ask her if she was sick, but then she fainted. Now Naruto was convinced that she was sick, why else would she faint? Naruto stood up and put Hinata on his back and started walking to Konoha. The 2 men ran and ran after the goddess, but every time they took a step closer, she seemed to be getting farther. The first man seemed wary of this and stopped. Wait up Haro, don't you think this is suspicious? The first man said. Haro stopped and went back to his partner. Not really, I mean, come on look at her, she's hot and all alone out here in the wilderness. She probably doesn't even remember what it feels like to be with man. Haro said mischievously. Now come on Jiro, she's getting away. Jiro threw a kunai at the woman and it passed right through her. Haro stopped in his tracks and watched as the goddess continued to tease them, as if the kunai never passed by her. Release. Haro said and the goddess waved goodbye before disappearing. Damn it. We've been tricked. Jiro's eyes widened. That means they knew about the kidnapping. Damn it. He then ran back to where they last left Hinata. Haro followed right behind him. When they arrived, they saw that Hinata was gone. Damn it to hell. Jiro said. Come on, they couldn't have gone far. Haro said and ran back in the direction leading to Konoha. Jiro followed after, swearing silently at how gullible they were. They kept running until suddenly, a dark blue blur swiftly punched Haro in the chin. He flew back and landed a couple of feet away. Jiro dodged an orange blur that was headed his way, but he still got a cut traveling from his elbow to his shoulder. He looked up and saw a masked kid with a blue shirt and black pants with a small orange fox with a kunai in his mouth. Haro stood up and started rotating his jaw. Ah, that was a hard right hook you got there kid, but it's not enough to knock me out. Haro said with a smile on his face. Naruto took out 2 kunai and spun them in his fingertips. Oh and you think you're a ninja too, how cute. He said sarcastically. He took out a kunai and threw it at Naruto. Naruto spun around to deflect the kunai and then threw his kunai at both men. Haro and Jiro lazily blocked it but were amazed at the Naruto's speed, strength and accuracy. Naruto looked down at Miyu and nodded his head. Miyu got the message and disappeared. So where did you send the little thing? Jiro asked. Not where you're going. Naruto said coldly as he picked up a tree branch lying next to him and ran at the men. Haro laughed and Jiro just smiled arrogantly. Naruto smiled with them as he suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind Haro and hit him in the back of the head with the branch. Jiro wasn't expecting this and jumped back as Haro flew through the air and landed with a sickening thud. He lay there motionless, which got Jiro thinking he was dead. How dare you kill my partner? Jiro said angrily. Naruto just stared passively at Haro. This wasn't the first time he killed someone, but even though Amir spent a week assuring Naruto that it was necessary as a warrior and ninja, he still didn't feel any better about it. He shouldn't have kidnapped Hinata. I give my condolences to his family and friends, but in the world of a warrior and ninja like, this sort of thing happens a lot. Naruto said solemnly. Jiro was surprised by Naruto's wisdom, but shrugged it off and charged him, kunai in hand. Naruto just looked up lazily and swung the branch. It knocked the kunai in Jiro's hand, and then he punched Jiro in the gut. Jiro doubled over in pain and got to take a good look at Naruto. He noted that his blonde hair got wilder, he suddenly had fangs and claws, and he let out a sort of killer intent. But the thing caught Jiro's attention the most was his eyes, his red eyes. Naruto's red eyes held so much hatred, pain, remorse and understanding all at the same time. While Jiro was still feeling Naruto's punch to the gut, Naruto focused his chakra into his right hand. He rapidly opened his eyes, and green fire appeared in his hand. He then did the same thing with his left hand, except this time, he applied more of his chakra than usual, and then Kyuubi's. As soon as he saw the flame, he threw it into the air. A second later it exploded like a firework, lighting up some of the night sky, and its sound echoing through the woods. Jiro tilted his head to get a better look at Naruto. He quickly grabbed him from the collar and punched him in the face. Naruto looked back at Jiro like nothing happened. This got Jiro angry, so he repeatedly punched Naruto in the face. Naruto then stopped his fist with his left hand and lightly touched Jiro in the chest with his right hand, foxfire still lit. Jiro swiftly let Naruto go and tried to put out the fire on his shirt. He was failing miserably and Naruto just watched, his red eyes never leaving Jiro. When he grew bored of it, Naruto held his left hand out and red chakra appeared. By now, the fire on Jiro had reached his whole body and it was mysteriously being sucked up by the red chakra around Naruto's hand. Naruto retracted his hand and watched as he smuggled the fire until it was gone. Naruto looked back at Jiro. "What are you?" Jiro said fearfully. "You're about to lose your consciousness, so listen well because I will not repeat myself. I am Naruto Uzumaki of the Immortal clan who resides in the village hidden in the leaves, remember that?" Naruto replied gravely. Jiro fell back and left the world of consciousness, just like Naruto had said. He walked over to where he hid Hinata and picked her up, but he soon grew tired and fell back. His back hit a tree and almost dropped Hinata, but found his grip and held on. He slid down the tree until he sat down. He felt Hinata trembling in his arms. She must be cold. He thought so. He brought her closer to his body. She snuggled his chest and then remained still. Naruto blushed a little at her sudden action. "Don't worry Hinata, I'll keep you safe." He was about to sleep when he saw Haro stand up. "But who'll keep you safe?" Haro said. "You're alive?" Naruto asked weakly. Haro just smirked and walked closer to Naruto. Haruka Hyuga was running beside her husband, Hiashi Hyuga, as they ran to the front gates of the village. She was worried about Hinata, she hadn't been in her room when she went to check in on her. She had her mother's intuition telling her to wake up and check on her. And if there was something she knew about being a mother, it was that a mother's intuition was never wrong, that all mothers wanted their children to lead happy lives and to one day have grandchildren to spoil. She just hoped that the last one would come later in her life. They were searching all over the Hyuga compound when they saw a large green explosion. They didn't know if that would lead them to Hinata, but that was the only lead they had. By the time they had reached the village's gate, they saw a small orange fox messing around with the two Chunin guards. By the way it was moving around, Haruka figured that it wanted the guards to follow it. She walked up to the fox, picking it up to get a better view. Both Chunin guards bowed to the head of the Hyuga clan and his wife, but she just ignored them. "What has you all riled up, little one?" Haruka asked the fox. The fox jumped from Haruka's hands, bit down on the robe she wore and pulled it in the direction of the woods. Haruka looked at her husband and nodded her head. Hiashi hesitantly nodded his head as well, and they both left the village. "Tell the Hokage that my daughter's been kidnapped again and we're heading to get her back," Hiashi ordered the Chunins. They both saluted and disappeared. Haruka kept up with the little fox, though she had to admit it was pretty fast. They ran for a short while before they saw a blonde-haired boy with a mask holding Hinata in his hands. The little fox stopped, causing both Haruka and Hiashi to stop as well. Hiashi was about to jump down and attack the boy when his wife stopped him. He looked at her questioningly, but her eyes just remained on the boy. Hiashi impatiently waited for something to happen when he noticed Naruto pull Hinata closer to his body. This angered Hiashi and he was about to get up, but Haruka stopped him again. He then noticed the small smile on his daughter's face and heard Naruto start speaking. "Don't worry Hinata, I'll keep you safe." Haruka smiled warmly and Hiashi wasn't as mad but still didn't like how close they were. "But who'll keep you safe?" They heard a mysterious voice say. "You're alive." They heard the blonde kid reply. This time, Haruka didn't stop Hiashi from getting up. He jumped down and was about to attack when the blonde kid suddenly yelled, "Don't kill him." This confused the mysterious man, but then realized what he meant when he felt someone hit him in the back of the neck. He looked back and his eyes widened in fear as he saw the head of the Hyuga clan. He fell unconscious from all the killer intent Hiashi was radiating. Haruka came down with the little fox and she walked over to Naruto who was barely conscious himself. The little fox went up to the blonde kid and started licking his face. "Are you okay little one?" Haruka asked in a gentle voice. Naruto dumbly nodded his head. Haruka gave the blonde kid another warm smile before Hiashi came over. "What's your name boy?" he asked coldly, but it didn't seem to affect him. He just smiled as he gave his answer. "I'm honored that the prestigious and powerful Hyuga clan head wants to know my name. My name's Naruto Uzumaki of the Immortal clan." That was the last thing he said before he fell asleep. Anbu and a medical ninja suddenly appeared and they took in the scene in front of them. The medical ninja examined Hinata and Naruto. "The girl is alright, she was just knocked unconscious, but the boy, he's just exhausted from overusing his chakra." take him to the hospital. The medical nin ordered. An Anbu with a wolf mask was about to pick Naruto up when a hand blocked him from reaching him. The Anbu looked up and saw that it was Hiashi who stopped him. "It's alright, we'll take him and make sure he gets the proper medical attention. Just check on the other guy over there." Hiashi pointed over to Haro. "Don't forget the other one," Naruto said weakly while pointing over to Jiro's body. Anbu nodded their head and went to recover Haro and Jiro for their interrogation. Hiashi picked up Naruto while Haruka picked up Hinata and they both traveled home. Naruto awoke to the sounds of talking. Although they were quiet and muffled, he still heard them. He opened his eyes to see a white ceiling and the light off. He turned his head to the left and saw an empty room, nothing special, just a nightstand and a closet. He knew he wasn't in his room because he left his room a mess when he went to school. He sat up and felt something pulling on his skin, so he looked at his arm and saw some cables connected to it. He pulled them off and walked out of the room. He started walking aimlessly around the place until he found what looked like the living room. He walked in and he saw two adults talking in the next room. The man noticed Naruto in the living room and motioned him to join him. Naruto walked into the room and saw more people in the room. They were in dining room eating dinner and Naruto remembered who he was looking at. "My pardon, Hyuga-sama, I didn't mean to cause trouble," Naruto said as he bowed his head. Hiashi smirked at Naruto's manners, he honestly didn't think he had any. "It is no trouble at all, Uzumaki-san. You may stand." Naruto stood up and got a better view of the room. He saw Hiashi and Haruka sitting together near the edge of the table. On the other side was the boy Naruto ran into who shoved him down. It took Naruto all his willpower not to yell at the boy. On his left was a blushing Hinata who quietly ate her dinner. "Hello there, Hinata-san and Neji-san," Naruto said at the last minute. Neji just raised an eyebrow at Naruto before completely ignoring him. "Please hit Uzumaki-san and join us," Haruka offered. Thank you." Naruto sat down across from Hinata and to the left of Neji who he still wanted to yell at. A waitress appeared and a tray of food and placed it in front of Naruto. He saw a bowl with rice and some type of soup. He bowed his head and grabbed the chopsticks and started eating. He stopped eating to ask the Hiashi something. "If you don't mind me asking, but how long was I out for?" "For about 3 days." Hinata answered for her father. Hiashi just nodded his head when Naruto looked at him. "Well, at least it wasn't as long as last time," he said to himself. "Last time?" Haruka asked. Naruto mentally slapped himself for being too loud. Yes, last time I collapsed," he answered vaguely. "Why did you see collapsed?" Hinata's curiosity got the better of her and she couldn't help but ask. When Naruto looked at Hinata, she looked down and ate some more food. He then looked at his food as he told his story. "Well, I guess I might as well start from the beginning. It happened sometime around last year. I was walking around the village when someone threw something at me and hit me in the head." "Why would someone throw something at you?" Hinata asked again. When Naruto looked at her again, she didn't look away like she normally would. Naruto, Hiashi and Haruka already knew why, but neither said anything. "Well, he was drunk, so maybe he was just angry and saw me first, but don't worry, I'm fine now. So, then he got 2 other drunks to throw rocks at me and I just rolled up in a ball and protected Miyu." "By the way, where is she?" Naruto asked. "Miyu?" Hiashi asked. "Yeah, that small orange fox. Have you seen it around?" "Oh, the fox, we let it go outside. It seemed like it wanted to run outside," Haruka replied. Naruto nodded his head and continued his story. "Then the man beat down the 3 drunks and asked me why I didn't fight back. I honestly didn't know either and he walked away. I asked him to train me so I can learn how to defend myself. He told me to meet him in a clearing 5 minutes away from the park. I got there and he told me to pick up a sword. I picked up 2, which were a lot lighter than I expected, and so did he. He then attacked me and I defended myself. After the fight he told me to pack my things and took me to his homeland for training for a year. I came back 2 weeks ago, but they told me I collapsed from chakra exhaustion." Naruto finished, surprising everyone, even Neji. What did you learn?" Hinata asked. "The way of the immortals and the art of swordsmanship. The way of the immortals. As in the ones that live forever?" "No, Hinata-chan, as in the clan. I read about them once when I was reading some scrolls we have in the library. They would wear all black clothing with stylized silver kabuki mask and segmented plate cuirasses, and they wield silver shields and katanas. Also, the immortals' expectations for their members are said to be worse than the infantry units. The scroll also mentions that they were imperial guards at one point with supernatural above-average abilities in war, though the scroll isn't too specific about their abilities." "That's about all I learned, am I close, Naruto?" Haruka asked. "Yes, but I'm afraid I am the last of my clan," Naruto said sadly. "What do you mean?" Hiashi asked. "You see, there was a war that occurred almost 2 years ago in my master's homeland. Apparently his perception of time was horrible because when I first asked him about it, he told me it happened not long ago when it was actually a year. In this war, two major countries were battling against each other. One of them sent the immortal clan to fight for them, but they were wiped out during the fight. My master only survived because he was unconscious and others thought he was dead. He walked over here in Konoha in hopes to rebuild his clan, and a year later, I showed up in his life and asked him if I could in his clan. He agreed 7 months after I showed him I was good enough. Sadly, he died before we were able to come home. Naruto closed his eyes and gave a moment of silence for his late master. The others remained quiet in respect of Naruto's master. They finished eating after some time, and Neji excuses himself. Naruto and Hinata stand to leave as well, but Haruka stopped them. Please there's something we still need to deal with. Naruto and Hinata both sat down and looked at the two adults in the room. Hinata, you go first, please tell us what happened yesterday. Hinata nodded and started speaking. Well, I was sleeping when someone came into my room and threw me into a bag. I tried to escape but the man was too strong. Hinata was crying at this point. Haruka stood up and hugged her daughter to try and comfort her. When I woke up, I saw Naruto over me trying to wake me and told me not to worry. By the way, Hinata, why did you faint when I saved you? Hinata started blushing, but it didn't go unnoticed by Haruka. I guess I was still tired. Hinata said. Naruto nodded his head, that was understandable in his mind. Okay, now you Naruto. Haruka ordered. He nodded his head and cleared his throat. I was out walking to a clearing after my training not long from here that has a river that Miyu likes to visit. When we got there, Miyu accident got in and was being pulled by the current. I ran after her and jumped in to save her. When I was sure I got her, I held onto a rock, got on top of it and jumped out. I heard someone coming and so I hid in the bushes. I saw two guys come out and one of them had Hinata in a bag. So I made a plan and tricked them with a genjutsu. When they left, I quickly grabbed Hinata to make sure she was okay. Of course I didn't really know who was in the bag, so I had to check it out anyways. After she fainted, I picked her up and started walking to Konoha. I suddenly sensed two people coming, so I hid Hinata behind a tree and waited for the men to show up. I knew it was pointless to run, since they would catch up to me, and hiding would have been pointless, since they still would have found me, so I chose to fight. When I found them, I hit one in the chin and Miyu cut the other guy. I fought and knocked out one of them, but the other thought I killed him, so he tried to avenge his fallen comrade. I guess I really am an immortal since I was able to defeat a ninja when I am not one yet. Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head. After that, I picked up Hinata and tried to head home, but I was too tired. When I saw the other guy stand, that's when you showed up. Naruto finished. This boy is incredible. Hiashi thought amazed while his face remained passive. Haruka and Hinata were both speechless. Naruto ran into school the next day, hoping he didn't miss anything exciting in the days he was absent. He ran into the room to see Haruka sitting in his desk. So Naruto, want to explain why you haven't been to school? He was about to answer when a voice spoke up first. He was with me Haruka-san. Hiashi said as he entered the room, Hinata following in tow. Really? What happened? Haruka asked as Hinata and Naruto went to their seats. Another time, right now, you have a class to teach. Hiashi bowed and left the room. Haruka took a while to compose himself before turning his attention to his class. Okay class, today we will practice on our shuriken kunai throws. He got different reactions from the class. Half of them groaned, a quarter of them cheered, and the rest didn't really care. When they got outside, they lined up in alphabetical order by last name. Many did okay, just as Haruka had imagined. He didn't expect anyone to hit the bullseye, except maybe Sasuke and maybe Hinata. Choji had a less than average aim, but he didn't care, he just kept eating the chips he brought. Shino had an above average aim as he hit one bullseye. Sakura did an average job, much to her disappointment. Hinata threw her kunai, and two of them hit the bullseyes, the other three were still impressive, even if they didn't hit the bullseye. Naruto congratulated her as she joined the rest of the class which caused her to blush and play with her fingers. Kiba, well he was around Choji's league. Shikamaru didn't even throw his, he just let them fall to the ground and called the whole exercise troublesome. When Sasuke went up, almost all the girls cheered for him. They kept chanting his name much to his displeasure. He threw his 5 shuriken and they each hit the bullseye. This caused all his fangirls to squeal and congratulate him. He didn't really care about his fangirls, but he didn't want to be mean either, so he thanked them as he went back to the line. Now it was Naruto's turn. Hinata silently wished him good luck as he walked up the target. He started to examine it before he walked back and went to throw his first kunai. When it hit the bullseye, a large crack formed and ran horizontal through the target. It didn't completely split in half, but it looked like would fall apart in any moment. Oops, sorry Haruka-sensei, looks like I overdid it. He said and then laughed sheepishly. It's okay Naruto, just try to hold back when you throw it. Haruka said dumbly. Naruto nodded and threw his other 4 without cracking the target. He went back in line as everyone still looked at the crack he made. Ino went up, but like Sakura, she an average job as well. When they all finished, they all walked back to the classroom. Sasuke went up to Iruka and asked him if he could have a sparring match with Naruto. "Well, I was going to have you write notes about how a genjutsu works, but I guess we can do that tomorrow." "Naruto." Iruka called over Naruto. "Sasuke wants to have a sparring match with you, do you accept?" Iruka asked since he couldn't really force a match unless it was for an exam. "Sure." Naruto replied casually. Everyone stood in the stands over the gym as they saw Naruto and Sasuke face each other. Iruka was down there to referee the match and to make sure nothing bad happened. "Okay, here are the rules. This is going to be Taijutsu only, so no ninjutsu or genjutsu, if you know any. Also, the match is over when I saw it's over, got that?" Naruto and Sasuke nodded, so Iruka stood back to give them room. "Okay, begin." Neither of them moved, both waiting for the other to start the match. Naruto fingered his sword. He decided to bring at least one sword, he wanted to be ready for anything. He didn't want a repeat of what happened a couple of days ago. "So why did you challenge me to a match?" Naruto asked. "After what I saw back there, I wanted to see who was better, me or you," Sasuke answered. Naruto smirked at his answer and was starting to get impatient. So, Naruto rushed Sasuke and pulled out his sword. This surprised everyone in the room, they didn't think he had a real sword, they all thought it was a kendo stick or something like that. Naruto swung his sword and then struck the ground. He used his momentum to jump over the sword and kick Sasuke in the chest. Lucky for him, Sasuke brought his arms up and blocked the kick. Seeing as he didn't get the hit, Naruto pushed Sasuke back with his feet as he did a backflip and landed. The whistle was blown and Iruka stood in between Naruto and Sasuke. "Naruto, why do you have a real sword?" Iruka asked madly. "Because I'm a swordsman. I have been for over a year now." "Why, is there a problem?" Naruto asked. Iruka took Naruto's sword. "Yes, it's dangerous to wield one. If you insist on using a sword, at least use a kendo sword," Iruka said as he held out a kendo sword for Naruto to use. Naruto crossed his arms and looked away. "Sorry, but I can't use those. Only weaklings and cowards use kendo swords. A real warrior wouldn't worry about safety, so I don't," Naruto offered as a reply. Some of the girls in the stand started swooning over Naruto. They claimed he was cool and dangerous like a typical bad boy. Sasuke's remaining fangirls just shrugged him off, they stayed loyal to Sasuke. That was the day that Naruto's fangirls started forming. Hinata didn't really like the fact that she might have some competition for Naruto's affection. In the days Naruto had been unconscious, she would visit his room daily and wait for him to wake up. While waiting, she had a lot of time to realize why he had been in her mind recently. She had a crush on the masked boy. Of course she didn't tell anyone, but her mom knew though. How she knew, Hinata wouldn't really know, but she was glad her mother didn't tell her father. He probably would have freaked. "Who told you they were for weaklings and cowards?" "My master, I asked him once if it was a good idea to let me use real swords instead of kendo swords, but he told me weaklings and cowards think about safety," Naruto answered nonchalantly. "Well, maybe I should have a talk with your master." "Go ahead, he's dead, but if you do find a way to talk to him, tell him I said hi and ask him when he's going to pay me back the money he owes me," Naruto said. Iruka blanched and took some steps back. "Continue," he yelled, and Sasuke charged Naruto this time. He sent a punch for Naruto's head, but he ducked and sent a punch for Sasuke's gut. Sasuke flipped back to avoid his punch. Naruto then ran at him, jumped and kicked him in the chest. Sasuke rolled back and recovered. Sasuke then jumped up and launched an axe kick for Naruto's head. Naruto blocked the kick with both hands and grabbed onto his legs. He spun around quickly and let him go, sending him to the wall. Sasuke turned in midair and recovered before he hit the wall. Then he pushed himself off the walls and sped for Naruto. He jumped and did a roundhouse kick which Naruto blocked and grabbed again, but this time Sasuke expected it. Sasuke did a handstand and sent another kick for Naruto's head. Naruto used his free hand to block this kick as well. Sasuke smirked and pushed himself off the ground with his hands. He formed a fist with his left hand and sent it for Naruto's head. It hit its mark and sent Naruto rolling back after he let Sasuke go. Naruto stood up after his fall and cursed himself for getting sloppy. He then smirked and charged Sasuke again. The fight continued and finished as a draw between them. Naruto and Sasuke shook hands, and the whole class cheered for them. Iruka smiled at their sportsmanship, and Mizuki walked away, a frown on his face. "Good job, you two." Iruka congratulated as he walked over to them. Naruto smiled proudly as Sasuke crossed his arms and smiled a small smile. Naruto, Hinata thought before all the fangirls started cheering louder. "That was awesome, Sasuke, Naruto. Good job, you two." Iruka congratulated as he walked over to them. Naruto smiled proudly as Sasuke crossed his arms and smiled a small smile. Naruto, Hinata thought before all the fangirls started cheering louder. "That was awesome, Sasuke, Naruto." Naruto woke up to his alarm. The evil machine rang and rang until Naruto decided to do something about it. Outside, everything was peaceful, the birds were singing, and early joggers were jogging. Then one of the joggers heard a window break and an alarm clock head for the ground. It broke as soon as it made contact with the ground, and Naruto smiled as he saw the many pieces of his alarm clock all over his road outside. He yawned as he walked over to the bathroom to relieve himself. He came out and looked at his calendar, causing him to smile widely. Naruto had been waiting for this day since he was 6, he was finally going to take the graduation exam so he could become a genin. 6 years has passed since Naruto was challenged by Sasuke, and it had become a regular thing between the two, though Sasuke changed when he turned 9. When they sparred, his moves were more aggressive and stronger. Naruto thought it was a phase he was going through, but then he heard of the Uchiha massacre. His older brother, Itachi Uchiha, murdered his entire family except for Sasuke, which no one seemed to understand why. When Naruto learned of it, he understood why Sasuke became distant. He was cold and quiet, and whenever someone tried to talk to him, he would just tell them off or not respond at all. Naruto was the only one he didn't snap at, but then again he barely said a word to him. When they did talk, it was just to ask if he'd spar with him. Other than that, Sasuke refused to be social. Naruto shook his head, he didn't hold the way he reacted to his family's murder against Sasuke, but there was other ways to deal with this sort of thing. Hinata, she was sure a mystery to Naruto, she would always stutter and blush when she spoke to him. Sometimes, she would faint if he ever made contact with her. She was a weird girl in Naruto's mind, but he still liked her. He saw Hinata as a best friend since she was genuinely nice to him, not like all the fakes in his class. In fact, she was the only girl he could have a decent conversation with. His fangirls would just stare and nod when he talked to them, not really understanding what he was talking about. During the last 5 years, Naruto has learned how to read people by their body language and eyes. His fangirls didn't really care what Naruto was talking about, just that he was talking to them. And they would always flirt with him, which he didn't understand either. He wore a mask that covered his face, and yet they still flirted. He just didn't understand girls. Back to Hinata though, Naruto honestly wanted to find out why she always blushed, stuttered and fainted around him. An idea of why she did that would constantly appear in his mind, but he always put them down, as he highly doubted that it was the real reason why. He usually laughed at the idea of her liking him as anything more than a friend. It wasn't that he didn't like her, she was one of the prettiest girls in his class, in his mind, but she was way out of his league. As a matter of fact, Naruto always noticed the little things about her, like the fact that her eyes were not wide as some of his class thought, but in fact were very light silver with a hint of lavender. Also, whenever she got nervous, her left foot would involuntarily fidget just a little, almost too slow to notice. However, Naruto noticed, he noticed that she only bit the nails in her thumbs, the rest were normally cut. One thing he noticed that bothered him was the fact that she would sometimes hide her sadness through her smiles, but in her eyes it was always there. Naruto had repeatedly asked Hinata what was bothering her, but she would never say or just say it was nothing. Naruto made a vow to find out exactly why she was secretly sad. He noticed every small thing about Hinata, every move, every sound, it was as if he was in love with her. Naruto always blushed when he thought about it. Yup, it was true, no matter how many times he denied it, he had a crush on the shy girl, and possibly something more. He figured it out 4 years after he saved her from the Cloud Nin's second attempt to gain the Byakugan. It happened one day in school when some girls older than her started making fun of her eyes. Naruto saw Hinata crying on the floor, while the older girls continued to laugh and mock her. Naruto didn't like that, so he had to stop to it. He told them to stop messing with Hinata and to mess with someone their own size. They just laughed at him, but left anyways seeing as their fun was over. Naruto went over to Hinata and made sure she was okay. When she looked up, it was that day he noticed what color her eyes really were and how much emotion they held. He felt bad when he saw her crying, like as if they kicked him in the stomach and ripped his heart out. The next day, he walked into school seeing Hinata talking to Kiba. Normally this wouldn't bother him, but he saw that Kiba had his arm over Hinata while she looked uncomfortable. This made Naruto's blood boil, and he wanted to beat Kiba to an inch of his life. When he saw Hinata walk away from Kiba and closer to him, however, he felt a whole lot better. The day after that, he was telling a joke to Hinata and actually made her laugh, not a short shy laugh, but an actual laugh. Her angelic laughter sent chills down his spine and made his day seem brighter. After school, he went to see Iruka-sensei so that his teacher could explain why he felt that way. After he told Iruka-sensei everything, Iruka-sensei just laughed and asked Naruto what he thought it meant. When Naruto told him he didn't know, Iruka-sensei told him that she was special and that he liked her. Naruto denied it and walked away saying that Iruka-sensei was losing it. Naruto never thought the same way after that, though he continually had to deal with his feelings, he never mentioned it to anyone else, especially not to Hinata. He thought as soon as he told her, their friendship would be over, and he didn't want that. Oh, how wrong he was. Naruto walked into his closet and found a clean shirt to wear. He put on his blue short-sleeved shirt, black sleeveless sweater, black pants and black shoes. He also put on his blue fingerless gloves and black headband. He started wearing it again so he could remember his dead master Amir. He still took at least one sword, much to the displeasure of Iruka-sensei. Naruto walked out of his house and ran to school, too excited to simply walk there. Hinata woke up right before her alarm went off. She got out of bed and stretched the sleep away. She looked at the time then at the calendar causing to smile. She went straight for her bathroom to get ready for the day. She was happy that today was the day that she would be able to make her father proud. Today was the day of the graduation exam. Hinata had been waiting for this day since her mother died shortly after giving birth to Hanabi. Due to birth complications that are unknown to her, all Hinata knew was that her mother died hours after Hanabi was born. After that, her father grew cold and stern. It was like when her mother died, so did her father's happiness. Hinata walked out of the bathroom and into her room in a towel. She walked up to her closet and started getting dressed. After she put on her lavender shirt, navy pant and shoes, she put on the bulky sweater she usually wore. She started wearing after she noticed that she was developing a lot faster than most of the girls in her class. She thought she looked odd and would drive Naruto away if he saw her, so she wore it so neither him nor anyone else would see. After she got dressed, she silently walked out of her home and walked to school. On her way there, she started wondering if she would be able to pass the exam. What if she didn't? Her father would be angry and disappointed in her, while Naruto would probably laugh and would want to stop being her friend. Hinata immediately stopped walking at that thought. Naruto wouldn't do that, would he? Speaking of which, Naruto made a sharp turn and crashed right into Hinata. They both fell down hard, though Hinata had a softer landing. As Naruto was falling back, his reflexes kicked and grabbed the person he ran into, which was Hinata. Unfortunately, he lost his footing and fell back, dragging poor Hinata with him. Naruto opened his eyes and they suddenly widened because of the position they were in. Hinata was on top of him and her lips mere centimeters from his. Naruto blushed under his mask. He once dreamt of something like this, though under other circumstances. Hinata, well, she looked into Naruto's blue eyes and was hypnotized. The same could be said for Naruto, as he couldn't stop staring into her beautiful silver orbs. They're much prettier up close. Naruto thought. When Naruto blinked, the thought of being so close to Naruto finally hit Hinata and she blushed and finally fainted. Naruto sighed when he saw her faint. He got up, picked up Hinata bridal style and walked to school. I wonder how long she'll continue to do this. Naruto said to himself as he walked to school with Hinata in his arms. When he arrived, Iruka gave him a look that asked what happened. Naruto only shook his head and gave him a look that answered what does it look like. Iruka nodded and Naruto walked up to the desk that he and Hinata sat at. He put her on her seat and started shaking her awake. After a couple of shakes, she started moaning and said something that shocked Naruto. Naruto-kun, Hinata said with a smile on her face. Naruto stopped shaking her and tried to think about what that meant. Is she dreaming about me? No, she just knew I was shaking her and just wanted me to stop, so why did she smile? Naruto decided to think about it another time. For now he just had to wake Hinata up. He shook her again, causing her to wake up. Oh, hello Naruto-kun. Hinata said with a small smile. Naruto smiled back, happy to know that she was back to normal. Hi there Hinata-chan. Naruto yelled, just as hyper as usual. Hinata's smile widened. Naruto then thought back to her saying his name and decided to bring it up. Hey Hinata-chan, though he didn't get a chance to finish as his fangirls ambushed him from behind and hugged him. They were all squealing and trying to get him to pay attention to them. When Naruto looked back at Hinata, he saw the sadness in her eyes again. He still didn't understand why she held so much sadness in her eyes. She was pretty, nice and had the best personality someone could have, so why was she sad? Naruto-kun, do you want to go on a date with me after school? One fangirl said. He never could remember any of his fangirls' names. Whenever he asked, everyone would say their name and he's never get a straight answer, so he gave up on that. Besides, he knew it was just an infatuation, just as he knew that Sasuke knew that about his own fangirls. Over the years, Naruto's fangirls grew to rival Sasuke's. Whenever they sparred, there would be a second fight going on in the stands about how Sasuke was better, then some would say Naruto was better and so on and so on. Sorry, I'm kind of busy after school. Naruto said gently, making most frown, but they didn't deter. Naruto just wished something would happen so he could be left alone. Alright, everyone sit down. Naruto mentally thanked Iruka-sensei for speaking up. The fangirls of both boys sighed and went to their seat. Naruto let out a sigh of his own, filled with relief as he sat down and heard Hinata giggle. He turned his head to look at her and he saw a small smile on her face as she tried to cover it with her hand. It's not funny. Naruto simply said. Hinata looked up. Course and not. Hinata tried to say, trying and failing to stifle her laugh. Naruto then got an idea and started tickling her. Her giggle turned into laughter and she tried to make him stop. Please, no, stop Naruto-kun," Hinata said as he continually tickled her. This went on for a minute before Naruto heard Iruka-sensei clear his throat. Naruto immediately stopped and helped Hinata sit back on her chair. She blushed deeply and noticed the many glares coming from Naruto's fangirls. She brought her head to the desk and wished she could disappear. Out of the corner of his eyes, Naruto saw Hinata's leg fidget just a little, which caused him to smile. Naruto just laughed sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head. "Sorry about that, you were saying Iruka-sensei?" Naruto was standing alone in a classroom, training dummies stood in the background, and Iruka and Mizuki-sensei were sitting behind a table that held headbands with his village's symbol on it. Naruto's eyes never left the headbands, he always dreamed of wearing it. Iruka-sensei once again had to clear his throat to get Naruto's attention. "Now Naruto, do you remember what you have to do?" Iruka-sensei asked. "Yup, substitution, transformation and clone jutsu," Naruto said and cracked his knuckles. He waited for one of the two instructors to throw a blunt kunai at him to practice the substitution jutsu. Mizuki ended up throwing the kunai and Naruto switched places with one of the training dummies. Naruto and Iruka expected the kunai to hit the dummy, then bounce off, but it just buried into the dummy. "Are you trying to kill me, Mizuki-sensei?" Naruto asked calmly, but on the inside he was very ticked off. Mizuki raised his hands in defense. "I'm sorry Naruto, it seems like I threw the wrong kunai. I could have sworn I had a blunt kunai," Mizuki said innocently. Naruto didn't really believe him but didn't say anything else. Naruto just continued with his test. "Transformation jutsu." Naruto yelled and a man Iruka and Mizuki have never seen before stood in front of him. The man was about 30 to 35 years old. He wore a black mask that covered everything under his eyes, which held hatred, pain and bloodlust. He wore an average headband that went across his forehead, but he wasn't a ninja. He was also bald, about 6 feet tall, and had a red robe on. Underneath the robe, they were able to tell he had 2 swords. The man was scary looking, some would say sinister, demonic even. When he made eye contact with Iruka and Mizuki, he sent chills down their spine. The killer intent the man was sending off was something neither of them have ever felt before, it was insane. "The hell you looking at? Never seen a man before? Or is it that I intimidate you, that I bring fear into your hearts that is slowly driving you crazy until you're in the brink of insanity? Well, what is it?" The man yelled angrily that Mizuki and Iruka were too fearful to talk, not taking the chance of angering the man more. The man scoffed and turned around, but before he could completely turn around, Mizuki and Iruka were able to see a sinister smile. "Pathetic." Then a cloud of smoke appeared and a smiling Naruto stood where the man once was. "Well?" Naruto asked as he waited for his teachers to say something. Then Naruto, "Who was that man?" Iruka-sensei finally said, though Mizuki was still trying to compose himself. "That was my master. I was going to transform into the 4th Hokage, but then I thought he'd be more entertaining," Naruto answered. When he saw the look on Mizuki's face, he couldn't help but laugh. "Enough Naruto. Now, time for the clone jutsu," Iruka-sensei said. Naruto nodded and started making hand signs. "Clone jutsu?" he yelled and 25 clones appeared. "Naruto, we only needed 3 clones," Iruka said. Naruto laughed sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head. "Haha, I tried to make 3, but this is the least amount of clones I can make, sorry." Iruka just smiled as he shook his head, Mizuki just scowled but tried not to show it. "Well, it's enough Naruto. You passed with flying colors." Naruto jumped for joy as he ran to get his headband. He picked up a black one, removed the bead band he was wearing, and replaced it with his new one. "Thanks, Iruka-sensei, Mizuki-sensei," Naruto said before running out of the room. When he returned to his classroom, he wanted to go talk to Hinata, but his fangirls once again made that hard to do. "Congratulations, Naruto-kun." Many of his fangirls said this, some were asking for a date and others just wanted to touch him. He sweat dropped and decided to put his ninja skills to good use and substituted himself with Kiba. The girls were confused and so was Kiba, though he wasn't complaining. "Hello ladies," Kiba said before the fangirls glared at him. While the fangirls beat Kiba up, Naruto walked back to his seat to talk to Hinata. "Hey," he said. Hinata blushed. Hello," she replied back. Naruto smiled at her, causing her smile to widen and her blush to deepen. "So, looks like we're both ninjas now." Hinata nodded her head, not trusting her voice. Naruto then got serious as he continued to speak. "Looks like we might split up after this. We'll be on a 3-man squad and have to think of the team before ourselves." Hinata looked up at him and saw the sadness in his eyes. "What do you think about it, Hinata-chan?" Hinata made eye contact with Naruto before looking down and playing with her fingers. I just hope I'll be in the same team with people I know," Hinata answered vaguely. "Well, I'd rather have you on my team than a fangirl," Naruto said nonchalantly. Same here," Hinata said quietly. Naruto just smiled again. Then he looked away. "There's still a small chance we'll be on the same team," he said glumly. Hinata also thought about that and was saddened by it. "So how about we do something just in case we don't end up in the same team?" Naruto asked. Hinata looked at him, blush still evident in her face. Like, what? Well, Naruto put his hand on his chin and looked thoughtful. "How about we go out to eat?" Naruto suggested. Hinata felt lightheaded and felt more blood rush to her face. Like a TT date," she stuttered. Naruto took it the wrong way and waved his arms in front of him. "And no, just two friends eating together. What do you say?" he said nervously. He had made it seem like a date to see how she would react to it. It wasn't the reaction he was hoping for and it hurt him. "Oh," Hinata said disappointed. Oh okay Naruto-kun." Naruto I smiled again. Even though she didn't feel the exact same way, any chance he had to spend more time with her was good enough. Great. Naruto and Hinata sat down in the ramen shop Naruto had suggested they should go to. She didn't seem to mind and now she looked a little nervous. Tucci came from the kitchen and greeted his favorite and best customer. "Hello there Naruto. Wow, looks like you're a ninja now." Tucci greeted. Naruto touched his headband and I smiled. "Yup, now I can defend this village and am now one step closer to becoming Hokage," he replied. Tucci looked at Hinata and Hinata just shied away a little. "And who's this, is this Hinata?" Tucci said, causing Naruto to tense up. Hinata just looked confused. "Do I know you from somewhere?" she asked. Naruto was internally panicking and trying to find a way to avoid all of this. "No, but Naruto has talked a lot about you, I even think he has a scene." Naruto didn't let Tucci finish. He jumped from his eat and covered his mouth. He laughed sheepishly as he saw Hinata's confused expression. "Haha, I just mentioned you from time to time. I also mentioned Iruka-sensei and my fights with Sasuke," Naruto said trying to convince Hinata. Hinata believed it but wondered what exactly Tucci wanted to say. Naruto then whispered something to Tucci that she didn't catch and then he nodded his head. Naruto sat back down and Tucci went back to the kitchen. "I hope you don't mind, but I ordered both of us chicken, is that okay?" Naruto asked. Hinata nodded and then they started talking. They talked about how they think the teams will be set up. Minutes into the conversation, their ramen came and winked at Naruto. That was usually a message for Naruto, but Hinata took it the wrong way. "Great, more fangirls." Hinata thought soberly. Naruto got the message and checked under his bowl and a piece of paper was there. When he opened it up, it read, "Tell her, she'll understand. And Tucci." Naruto looked up and saw both and Tucci looking at him with a pleading look. Naruto sighed and shook his head. Looked disappointed, but Tucci let it go. After eating the ramen, Hinata and Naruto continued to talk about being ninjas. Naruto then had a thought. "Hinata-chan, remember how I told you we might not be in the same team? Well, if we don't, I want to make a deal with you, a sort of promise." What kind of promise?" Hinata asked. Naruto brought his hand up and held his pinky out. "Promise me we'll still be best friends and help each other out whenever we both need it," Naruto said with determination. Hinata registered his words as she looked at his pinky. "Be best friends?" she inquired, he just nodded his head. Hinata looked at his eyes and saw the determination and honesty behind his words. "I promise," she said with a smile, put her pinky against his and wrapped it with his and vice versa. Giggled softly at the interaction between the two and Tucci just smiled. Next day, both Naruto and Hinata were fidgeting in their seat in anticipation. They both wanted to be on each other's team more than anything, they didn't care who else was in it, just as long as they both were together. Simultaneously, they both blushed at the way they worded it in their mind. They were brought out of their thoughts by the sound of someone running into the class. Then two screaming Sasuke fangirls burst into the room. One they knew by the name of Sakura and the other by Ino. Naruto didn't like how they would drool over Sasuke instead of taking this seriously. Sure he would pull a prank or two, but when it came to training and important information, he became serious. They made a mockery of Kunoichi in Naruto's mind. Hinata was a good example of a Kunoichi for someone who is just starting. She concentrates when she has to, she pretty, but a great fighter and very intelligent, but never once had he ever seen her go into fangirl mode for any guy. Naruto blinked repeatedly. In fact, he never saw Hinata look at another guy with interest, not that he was complaining. This made Naruto wonder who she liked. "Hey Hinata-chan, do you like someone?" Naruto asked bluntly. Hinata blushed and became nervous. Why you ask?" "Well, because I never seen you look at a guy that made it seem like you liked him," Naruto explained. Hinata was currently having an internal struggle with herself. She wanted to tell Naruto how she really felt, but then again, she didn't want him to reject her. Well, you see she started, but just couldn't find the words to continue. What's she so nervous about?" Naruto thought as he patiently waited for Hinata to finish. Though he wouldn't find out as Iruka-sensei poofed into the room and told everyone to sit down and remain quiet. Great timing Iruka-sensei. Naruto thought as a vein popped out of his head. He started naming the first 6 group, mostly people he didn't know or people he didn't really care to know. Naruto remembered what Amir told him long ago. If they don't respect or like you, don't waste your time trying to get them to. Don't live in anger, just don't take any crap, you got that. Team 7. Sasuke Uchiha. All his fangirls that weren't in a team were hoping to be in his team. Hinata Hyuga. Every fangirl gave Hinata the evil eye. Naruto was extremely angry and almost shouted, but Iruka said something that made him stop in his tracks. And Naruto Uzumaki with Jonin instructor Kakashi Haddock. Naruto silently thanked God for being merciful. Hinata was bursting with joy on the inside but looked content on the outside. I get to be on Naruto's team. She was brought out of her thoughts by a constant tug on her sweater. Hey Hinata-chan, just because we're on the same team doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep our promise, right? Hinata looked up and eagerly nodded. Besides, even if we weren't on the same team, I heard that the heart grows fonder for those they don't see in a long while. Naruto said, but it came out wrong. He blushed and looked away. Hinata blushed too and wanted to ask what exactly he meant by that, but he wouldn't look at her. Teammate. Shino Abiram, Kiba Inuzuka and Sakura Haruno with Jonin instructor Kurina Yuhi. Shino and Kiba were indifferent, but Sakura was struggling not to blow up. She couldn't believe she didn't get in the same team as her Sasuke. Team 10. Shikamaru Nara, Troublesome, Toji Akimichi, Munch, and Ino Yamanaka with Jonin instructor Asuma Sarutobi. Ino's reaction was worse out of everyone. She used some words that are not for the weak at heart or of a young age as they are the most impressionable. Iruka noticed that not everyone enjoyed his or her teams. Sasuke was indifferent, but Naruto and Hinata were ecstatic. Iruka was happy they ended up in the same team, he knew of their crush with each other and hoped it worked out. Though he also hoped that it wouldn't blind them and stun their growth as ninjas. Sakura was depressed, Shino was also indifferent, while Kiba was a little angry that he wasn't in the same team as Hinata. Iruka also knew of Kiba's infatuation of the Hyuga girl and thought it was pointless. Hinata would never see another person the same way she saw Naruto. As far as the next generation Shika Ino-cho team were concerned, they reacted just as their fathers had long ago, or so he heard. Now, you'll wait here for your Jonin instructor. Iruka poofed away and left the new Genins to meet their new teams. Naruto walked with Hinata over to Sasuke to stay together as a team. On their way there, they ran into teammate. Hey guys. Naruto said as Hinata shyly waved at teammate. She was happy that she at least knew someone in that team, so she wouldn't feel like the outcast, she just hoped that the person she knew wouldn't flirt with her. Sadly though, that wasn't going to happen. Hello Hinata, sit next to me. Kiba said as he patted a seat next to him. Naruto didn't spend so much as a minute with Kiba and already he wanted to chop Kiba up into tiny pieces of kibble and feed it to his dog Akamaru. Akamaru must have sensed this because he started barking at Naruto. Naruto wanted to tell the dog to shut up but couldn't because 1. It'd make him look like a jerk and 2. Because he thought of a better idea of doing that. Naruto quickly ran to the window, opened it and whistled loudly. Everyone present was confused by his actions and wondered what or whom he was trying to call. He walked back to Akamaru and bent down. Just wait right there. Naruto said. He stood up straight and saw teammate's facial reaction. Haha, just wait. Then an orange blur entered the class through the window and jumped on Akamaru. Akamaru wasn't expecting this and was shoved into the floor and felt something on top of him. Miyu was wagging her tail as she stood over Akamaru. Akamaru had no idea what a fox was doing on top of him, but he wouldn't stand for it. He jumped up and started growling at Miyu while she just happily sat in front of him. Akamaru then sprang into action and tried to jump on Miyu, but she was too quick and moved to the left. Akamaru just slid after missing until he to a complete stop. Miyu started moving around Akamaru, she thought they were playing and was having. Akamaru though, not so much. It's so cute. Hinata and Sakura said as Hinata picked up Miyu. Miyu sniffed Hinata for a while before she jumped from her hands and started licking her face. Hinata started laughing and again, Naruto felt the same chill run down his spine. Her name's Miyu by the way. Now let's go meet our new teammate. Miyu barked at Naruto when he wanted to pick her up. She looked like she wanted to stay with Hinata for a bit longer. Hinata also wanted to hold Miyu longer as well, that's the expression Naruto read anyways. Okay then, you don't mind holding her do you Hinata-chan? She shook her head and they left to where Sasuke was. Looks like they like each other. Sakura said. Yes, it appears so. Shino added. She's too good for him. Kiba commented. I was talking about Hinata and Miyu. Sakura said with a sweat drop. Kiba just grunted and blushed. As Naruto, Hinata and Miyu walked over to Sasuke, Naruto bumped into Shikamaru's chair and the boy just groaned. Watch it Naruto. Shikamaru said. He was playing shogi with Choji who didn't look like he wanted to play. Naruto stopped walking and looked at the game. Something you want? Shikamaru questioned. Yeah, let me play Naruto requested. Hinata noticed that she was walking alone by now and walked back to where Naruto was. Shikamaru thought about it, then shrugged. He made to stand, but Naruto put a hand on his shoulder to stop him. Against you, sorry Choji, I got nothing against you. No problem, I would have lost anyways. Choji got up and Naruto went to sit in his seat. Choji sat next to Shikamaru, Hinata sat next to Naruto with Miyu sleeping on the table, and with that the game began. At the end, Shikamaru won, but just barely. Nice game, a nice way to pass the time. Well, see ya. Naruto said as he and Hinata walked to their other teammate. Shikamaru watched him leave and then smirked. What are you thinking? Choji asked. There's more to Naruto than meets the eye. Asuma entered the class, so Shikamaru stood up with Ino and started walking to the door. Aren't you going to pick up the game? Choji yelled. Shikamaru shrugged as he walked. Too troublesome. He replied. Choji just laughed and went after his team. Miyu just woke up and saw that she was alone. She yawned, stretched, and went to find Hinata. When they reached Sasuke, he was deep in thought. Naruto wanted to pull a prank on him, but Hinata told him not to. So instead, Hinata and Naruto talked about what it will be like to be in a team, what missions they might get, the dangers they would face, and the legends they would create. Hinata just listened and played with Miyu as he told her that he guaranteed that they would be legends. Hinata had no doubt in her mind that what Naruto said was true. Maybe, but you'll have to work extra hard to be better than me. Sasuke added. Who said you were better than me? Naruto asked. It's not something that needs to be said, it's just common knowledge. Sasuke replied. He knew he was on equal grounds with Naruto, but he wouldn't say it out loud. Though he didn't really feel like talking, he also didn't want to do nothing as they waited for their Jonin sensei, so he might as well have some fun. That's not common knowledge, that's more like science fiction. Impossible if not ridiculous. Naruto retorted, causing Hinata to try to stifle a laugh. Naruto also knew that they were equal in terms of strength and was man enough to admit it. He also knew that Sasuke was trying to get him to overreact. Too bad Naruto knew what he was trying to do, he even did it to him, but unlike Naruto, Sasuke took the bait. What did you say, dope? Sasuke said angrily. You heard me, team. Naruto retorted. This continued for another hour, Sasuke and Naruto arguing while Hinata played the peacemaker. She eventually tired out and just made sure Naruto didn't hit Sasuke and vice versa, while Miyu barked at Sasuke. The classroom door opened and Kakashi saw Naruto grabbing Sasuke by his collar, a fox biting down on Sasuke's shoe, and Hinata holding Naruto's fist in the air. She was able to stop him before it even touched Sasuke, and then she saw Kakashi waiting at the door. Sasuke also looked at the door, and Naruto only sighed as he hung his head. You're late, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto simply said. Kakashi just remained at the door. My first impression of you guys, you're a bunch of idiots. Everyone's sweat dropped. Now, meet me in the roof in 5 minutes. He was about to leave when Naruto's voice caught his attention. How do we know you won't take an hour to get there? Kakashi was about to answer, but Naruto didn't let him. I really don't want to know. Naruto casually walked by Kakashi as he headed for the roof. Kakashi looked at the rest of Team 7 and they just shrugged it off. Miyu walked out of the class through the window and Kakashi just guessed it went to do thing foxes normally did. He's certainly an interesting one. Okay, now I want you to introduce yourselves. Kakashi started. What do you mean? Hinata asked. You know your likes, dislikes, dreams of the future, hobbies, things like that. How about you show us how it's done, sensei? Naruto requested nonchalantly as he looked at the cloud slowly passing by. Alright. My name's Kakashi Haddock. Things I like and things I hate, I don't feel like telling you that. My dreams for the future, never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, I have lots of hobbies. Everyone's sweat dropped and Naruto even face palmed. Okay, now you with the mask, you go. Hi, my name's Naruto Uzumaki of the Immortal clan. I like training, my friends and ramen. I hate the 3 minutes you have to wait after adding the hot water to ramen and people who are prejudiced, and my dream is to be the greatest Hokage, one that surpasses his predecessors and can protect his precious people. As for my hobbies, well, I like to train and garden. Naruto sat down after his introduction. Kakashi I smiled. Okay, now you with the sweater. Well, my name's Hinata Hyuga. She looked at Naruto and then blushed. I like to gather herbs and make medicine. I don't necessarily hate anything but I don't like when people are mean to my friends. My dream is to be like my mother, who was a great Hyuga and a smart and beautiful woman, and to have a family of my own in the future. My hobbies are gardening as well and making herbs. Your turn, Mr. Sunshine. Naruto and Hinata both tried to stifle a laugh and Sasuke's eyebrow twitched. My name's Sasuke Uchiha. I don't particularly like anything and I hate a lot of things. What I have is not a dream but an ambition. I will rebuild my clan and destroy a certain someone. Sasuke said solemnly as everyone had their own thought. Who does he want to destroy? Just like Kakashi-sensei, all I learned was his name, but at least he told us his ambition, or so he calls it. So that's how it is, huh? Now, be at the designated training spot at 5 in the morning. I'll explain what our first mission is. Why not explain it now? Naruto asked. Kakashi started chuckling. You'll be taking a survival exercise to see if you're good enough to be a genin. What? B, but we already took an exam to be a genin. Why do have to do it again? Hinata asked. Kakashi then started laughing. Why are you laughing about? That's a normal question to ask. Naruto said. When Kakashi was calm enough, he spoke. Well, if I tell you, then you wouldn't like my answer. Just tell us already. Sasuke said. Alright, but don't say I didn't warn you. Of the 27 graduates that just came here, only 9 will be accepted as genin. That means the other 18 will be weeded out and sent back to the academy. In other words, this is a pass or fail, make it or break it test, and the chances that you'll fail is at least 66%. Team 7 each got a different reaction from that. Naruto didn't believe it but didn't show it. Hinata didn't believe it either, and Naruto caught her leg shaking. Sasuke was passive, but Naruto and Kakashi both knew he was freaking out in his own way. See, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't like it? Wait, so what was the graduation test for then? Naruto asked. That was just to see who might have a chance of becoming a genin. I get to choose if you become one or get sent back to the academy. That's messed up. Naruto quietly commented. Be that as it may, be at the designated training spot at 5 in the morning and bring your ninja gear. Everyone had their own thoughts going through their head as Kakashi stood. That's it, you're dismissed. Oh, and you might want to skip breakfast or else you'll puke. With that, Kakashi disappeared in a whirl of leaves. See, didn't I tell you that you wouldn't like it? Wait, so what was the graduation test for then? Naruto asked. That was just to see who might have a chance of becoming a genin. I get to choose if you become one or get sent back to the academy. That's messed up. Naruto quietly commented. Be that as it may, be at the designated training spot at 5 in the morning and bring your ninja gear. Everyone had their own thoughts going through their head as Kakashi stood. That's it, you're dismissed. Oh, and you might want to skip breakfast or else you'll puke. With that, Kakashi disappeared in a whirl of leaves. The sun was just rising as everyone in Team 7 appeared at the designated training spot at exactly 5 in the morning. Hinata was still drowsy, but was still awake enough to notice her other 2 teammates arriving. Sasuke just walked casually to the training spot, looking like he regularly wakes up at that time. Naruto, on the other hand, looked half asleep. He was walking with both eyes closed and seemed to have come to the spot without opening them once. As soon as Team 7 reached the same spot, Naruto fell down and started sleeping again. Sasuke and Hinata decided to stand as they waited for Kakashi to show up. Hinata looked at Naruto as he slept. She smiled softly as she saw his peaceful expression. She also noticed what he was wearing. Usually, he wore a black mask, a black headband, blue fingerless gloves, a blue shirt under a sleeveless coat, black pants and shoes, and a sword on his back. Now, however, he was wearing a black long-sleeve shirt, navy blue pants and black shoes. Though he wore his mask and gloves like normally, he had 2 swords on his back instead of 1. This intrigued Hinata, as she never knew that he could use both swords. I bet he doesn't even know how to use both swords. He might be skilled in Kenjutsu with 1 sword alone, but he probably doesn't know how to handle the extra blade. Sasuke commented as if he read Hinata's mind. Suddenly, 2 blades were poised dangerously at the Uchiha's throat, like a giant pair of scissors was getting ready to cut his head off. The one holding the blade was the one both Hinata and Sasuke thought was dead asleep. A single bead of sweat rolled down Sasuke's cheek. I'm sorry, Sasuke, something you want to tell me? Naruto said, dangerously calm. Sasuke came out of his stupor and backed up, scoffing at Naruto as he relaxed and got out of his stance. He's fast, I didn't even see him move. Sasuke thought as Naruto walked over to a tree and leaned into it. Hinata was having a similar thought to Sasuke's. He's so fast and precise, he's even faster than Sasuke. He's probably really good, but I'm not. Not enough for him to notice me. She thought depressingly. She felt someone's eyes looking at her and she looked up to see it was Naruto. She blushed under his calculating stare and then motioned her to join him. She walked over to him and he sat down while his back was still leaning on the tree. He motioned her to sit next to him, causing the blush to deepen while she did so. Is there something why you want Naruto-kun? She asked shyly. He just shook his head. Not really. Not that I mind, but why did you ask me to join you? Hinata asked again. He shook his head again. Just cause. Naruto tilted his head back and looked at the sky. He would much rather watch the stars than the clouds. He didn't really know why, but he enjoyed the night sky over the day sky. Hinata just stared at Naruto in awe. He wants me to be near him. She saw Naruto close his eyes and his breathing started getting more relaxed, almost as if he was sleeping. When she looked closer, she saw that he was in fact sleeping. Then Hinata's eyes focused on Naruto's mask and what it hid from the world. She had seen him without once when he was still recovering from his injuries 6 years ago. She was in the room when a branch member came to check on Naruto. After the branch member left, Hinata's curiosity was too much for her to handle, so she slowly removed his mask and stared in awe. She thought he looked cute without the mask. The 3 whisker marks on each side of his face appeared odd to her, but they only added to his uniqueness. She wondered why he would hide his face behind a mask, but left it alone as he probably had his reasons. After she had a good look, she quickly put it on and continued to wait for Naruto to wake up. It had been a full 6 years since she last saw his face, and her curiosity was starting to get the better of her again. She hesitantly raised a hand and went to remove Naruto's mask. She watched as her hand traveled to Naruto's face, and it felt like an eternity watching go. Sasuke looked on as Hinata went to remove Naruto's mask. He was also curious as to why Naruto wears a mask and what he really looks like, though he would never saw it aloud. Ever since they entered the academy, he was curious of the masked boy in his class. He was as quick and as strong as him, and yet Sasuke knew that something wasn't right. It was as if Naruto was holding back, or at the least, something was holding him back, and Sasuke had a feeling that the mask had something to do about that. Hinata barely touched the fabric, and a hand rapidly came up to prevent her from pulling on it. She jumped at the sudden reflex and looked at Naruto. He had one eye open and it was focused on her hand. "What's this, a hand? And it belongs to Hinata no less." Naruto said. I smiled at her. You know what they saw, curiosity killed the cat. Hinata took back her hand and looked down shamefully. I'm sorry Naruto-kun. Hinata apologized. Don't worry about it Hinata-chan. I don't mind it at all. Naruto said before going back to sleep. Hinata kept on staring until she started getting bored and fell asleep too. She unconsciously leaned her head on Naruto's shoulder and then he laid his head on top of hers. Sasuke watched the two as they slept. He remained where he first stood and sat down. His thoughts then moved to Itachi and how he hoped that Hinata wouldn't slow them down. Naruto was up to par with him and probably wouldn't slow Sasuke down. Hinata though was another thing. Even though she was the top kunoichi in their class, he didn't know exactly how strong she was or how much work was needed to make her stronger. Sasuke respected Hinata, she didn't drool over him and actually took being a kunoichi seriously. Sure she would occasionally pay more attention to Naruto, but it didn't affect her learning much in the academy. 3.5 hours have passed as both Naruto and Hinata still slept and Sasuke was still in deep thought. They didn't even notice Kakashi walking up to them casually. Yo. Kakashi-sensei greeted. Naruto opened an eye. You're late. Naruto said tiredly. Sorry, but I got lost in the road of life. Kakashi explained. Well take a map next time because we can't afford to wait for you every time you get lost. Naruto said as he yawned. He would have stretched but he felt a small amount of pressure on his left shoulder. He looked to his side and started blushing. Hinata was still peacefully sleeping on his shoulder. Naruto didn't have the heart to wake her up but the same could not be said for Kakashi. He took out an alarm clock and made it go off at that moment. Hinata slowly opened an eye and looked at the alarm that was right in her face. She lazily took it from Kakashi's hand, held it and looked at it in confusion. Why am I holding an alarm clock? She looked to her right and saw Naruto smiling at her. She smiled back and then looked at the clock again. It took her a minute to register what she saw and where she was. She immediately sat up straight and looked in the opposite direction. Sorry and Naruto-kun. Hinata barely got out. Naruto just laughed sheepishly. It's alright Hinata-chan. Kakashi held his hand out at Hinata and she gave him back the alarm. He took it and walked over to the 3 posts. He set the alarm and placed it on top of the middle. Naruto stood up and stretched the sleep out of his bones while he, Hinata and Sasuke walked over to the posts. So Kakashi-sensei, what are we going to do? I'm glad you asked Naruto. Now Kakashi said as he took out 2 bells out of his pocket. Your assignment is simple, I want you to try and take the bells. Naruto swiftly took the bells from Kakashi's hands. Got it? Naruto said, bored as he showed Kakashi the bells. Can I explain what you have to do? Kakashi said nonchalantly while containing his surprise. Hinata and Sasuke were both amazed once again at Naruto's speed. You did and I got the bells. Naruto replied. Give it back before I fail you. Kakashi said. Naruto tossed back the bells while mumbling about doing it already. Thank you, now as I was saying. I want you to try and take the bells from me. Naruto's sweat dropped. I set the alarm to go off at noon. If you can't take the bells from me before then, you'll go without lunch. What? And, you'll be tied to those posts while you watch me eat my lunch. So that's why he told us not to eat breakfast. So then it'll be harder for us to work and be active. Naruto and Sasuke thought simultaneously while their stomachs grumbled. Kakashi-sensei. Yes Hinata. Hinata started playing with her fingers when she realized everyone was paying attention to her. There's only 2 bells but there's 3 of you us. Yeah, what's with that? Naruto asked. Kakashi chuckled, once again confusing his team. That way, at least one of you will be tied to the post for not completing the assignment. That one gets sent back to the academy. Team 7 just stared at each other. Although, there's still a good chance that all three of you will fail, eat no lunch and get sent back to the academy. Kakashi said with an eye smile. We were put on a team a day ago, and now we're going to be competing against each other to see which one of us, if not all of us, go back to the academy. Something's not right. Naruto thought, but was unable to continue the train of thought as he was brought out of them as Kakashi spoke again. You won't be able to take them from me if you don't come at me with the intention to kill. Kakashi's last words made Hinata uncomfortable. She knew she couldn't kill Kakashi, but still didn't like the idea of coming at him with the intentions of killing him. Wait a minute, that's not really fair. I mean, yeah, we're not exactly intimidating, but we were the top 3 students in the academy. You have a bad sense of time and have one eye. If your lack of timing doesn't affect you, then your depth perception will. Naruto said, bored. Kakashi threw a kunai at Naruto, and Naruto ducked. How's that for depth perception? Naruto smirked. Not bad. Naruto then threw his own kunai at Kakashi. Kakashi blocked it, which was exactly what he wanted. Naruto disappeared and reappeared right behind him with the sharp side of his sword placed on Kakashi's neck. Kakashi had placed his own kunai right at Naruto's neck, and all this happened in the blink of an eye. I didn't say you can start. Kakashi said. Naruto smiled bitterly. Didn't know fight started with a simple start. Naruto said, a bittersweet smirk on his lips. They don't, but my exercise does. Kakashi and Naruto both backed up from each other. Both masked ninjas stared at each other with an understanding. That's what I am talking about, with the intention of killing me. Don't worry, I'm sure we get the idea now. Sasuke said excitedly. How can I say this? I'm starting to like you guys. Kakashi said. And start. The 3 genins disappeared and Kakashi just waited. Inside the Hokage's office, the 3rd Hokage and Iruka were sitting down drinking tea. So what did you want to talk about, Iruka? I'm sure it wasn't just to drink tea with me. The 3rd said. Well, Hokage-sama, you want to know about Naruto's Jonin instructor Kakashi Haddock? The 3rd said more than asked. Iruka was surprised that he knew but recomposed himself. Well, yes. The 3rd Hokage took out a book from under the table and slid it over to Iruka. He picked it up and looked at it in wonder. What is this for, sir? This book holds a record of Kakashi's teams. Every team he's passed, every team he's failed. Iruka opened the book and started reading. He flipped the page and it read the same as the last page, except with a different team. Iruka continually flipped through pages and saw one similarity for all of them: they all failed. Is this correct, Hokage-sama? The 3rd just nodded. I heard some rumors, but they weren't as bad as this. Kakashi might be a little hard on his team. A little. Not one passed his test. Iruka retorted. Yes, it seems like they couldn't meet Kakashi's standards, so he failed them. The 3rd Hokage said gravely. Well, it seems like they understand the concept of hiding and remaining quiet, Kakashi thought before Naruto appeared in front of him. You know, compared to the others you're a little weird. Naruto ran up to Kakashi, sword ready in his hand. You want to talk about weird? What's up with your haircut? Naruto mocked gasped as he swung his sword. Kakashi took out a kunai, parried it, and pushed him back. Naruto did a back, landing 4 feet from Kakashi before running at him again. He swung his sword vertically, and Kakashi parried this one too, but before he could do anything, Naruto grabbed his second sword and went to strike the strings that held the bells. Kakashi wasn't expecting this, he didn't think he would actually use both swords. Kakashi jumped over Naruto and kicked him in the back. Naruto flew forward and landed in the river nearby. Naruto sank all the way to the bottom and thought out his current situation. Up with Kakashi, he waited for his student to resurface. In their respective hiding places, Hinata and Sasuke watched in awe as Naruto took on Kakashi. How strong is he? Sasuke thought after watching the short match. Naruto-kun. Soon, the air bubbles stopped appearing and Naruto jumped out. He wasted no time because as soon as he landed he sped off right at Kakashi. This time, Kakashi prepared for whatever Naruto was going to throw at him. Naruto threw one of his swords a foot from Kakashi and jumped on the hilt. Kakashi went to cut Naruto's leg by a horizontal swing with his kunai, but Naruto jumped over him using his momentum, landed behind Kakashi, and kicked him in the back. Kakashi would have been flying just as Naruto had, but instead he poofed out of existence. The clone? But it was solid A shadow clone. Naruto deducted. Naruto walked over to his sword and picked it up. He sheathed both swords and looked at a tree to his left. When we pass this test, will you teach me that jutsu, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi jumped from his spot and I smiled at Naruto. Maybe that is, if you pass. Naruto smirked at his challenge and disappeared into the trees. Suddenly, 3 kunai and 2 shuriken appeared from one of the trees and impacted with Kakashi. Sasuke thought before Kakashi turned into a log. Damn, he probably knows where I am. Sasuke came out of his hiding place and stopped when he heard a yell. That sounded like Hinata. Sasuke then heard a bell sound behind him, so he turned around to see Kakashi leaning on a tree. Well, standing out in the open is pretty dangerous for a ninja, don't you think so, Sasuke? He reached for something in his pocket. Sasuke prepared himself for anything. What he took out shocked him, it was Icha Paradise. Why did you take out a book? Sasuke asked, disappointed in his sensei. So I can find out what happens next. Sasuke then threw more shuriken at Kakashi. Something told Kakashi to take Sasuke seriously and be more prepared, so he put his book away as he dodged. Sasuke then threw a kunai at a tree where it cut a rope to set off the trap. A trap. Kakashi also dodged the kunai thrown from the trap and then Sasuke appeared behind him. Sasuke sent a left roundhouse kick to Kakashi's face, which he blocked and held. Then Sasuke twisted his body and threw a left hook which was also caught. He turned himself vertically to send a stronger right kick to Kakashi's head. Kakashi also blocked this one. Sasuke smirked as he went to get the bells. Kakashi noticed this and backed away before Sasuke took the bells. Interesting, you were close. Kakashi said. Sasuke smirked as he made hand signs. I'm not done yet. Sasuke finished his hand signs much to Kakashi's disbelief. No way, that's a high-level fire jutsu for a genin. I doubt he could actually pull it off. Higher style. Fireball jutsu. Sasuke thought as he launched a fireball at Kakashi's direction. It burned all grass that it came in contact with and when he was done, Sasuke couldn't spot his sensei. Crap, where is he? To my left, my right on top. A hand shot off the ground, grabbed Sasuke by the leg and forced him into the ground until he was only neck deep in the ground. Right under me. Well Sasuke, I am impressed, you are good in ninjutsu, but Naruto beat you in the taijutsu. Now that I think about it, Hinata's the only one I haven't fought against. Kakashi stood up and took out his book. You be a good little boy and stay right there. Kakashi was about to go to find Hinata when Naruto appeared and kicked Kakashi in the ribs. Kakashi flew into the woods and Naruto followed him. Sasuke growled at the thought of Naruto being better than him at something. Then he heard bushes moving and looked at them. He saw Hinata jump out and run to him. Hinata. She just placed a finger on her lips to tell him to stay quiet. She then helped Sasuke get out of the ground. When she finished, she motioned him to follow her. Naruto was fighting Kakashi one-on-one without his swords. Even though he knew he could probably do better with them, he had a better use for them. He knew he was no match for his sensei. He might be quicker and stronger than most, but Naruto knew Kakashi was simply better. After their first confrontation, Naruto knew Kakashi would have killed him before Naruto could get his sword to touch Kakashi's neck. Now however, Naruto wasn't trying to beat Kakashi, just distract him. Kakashi just stared at Naruto warily. He wondered why he wasn't using his swords that he usually used. In fact, he noticed that one of his swords was missing. He also wondered why Naruto would continually fight him head-on if he already knew it was pointless. Before Kakashi could continue his thought, Naruto actually got a hit on Kakashi. He sent a hard kick to Kakashi's sternum and he went flying through the woods. When he landed, he noticed that he was in a small clearing. He looked around and saw one of Naruto's swords lying on the ground. So that's where I left it, Naruto said when he entered the clearing and continued his assault on Kakashi. Kakashi decided to end it and shoved Naruto back. While he had his attention away from her, Hinata jumped out of her hiding place and closed all the chakra points in Kakashi's left arm. He was surprised at the sudden ambush, but Kakashi moved away before she could close any more chakra points. He felt his left arm go numb and saw that Sasuke went to take advantage of this. Sasuke once again tried the fireball jutsu and it made Kakashi jump back until he was right next to one of Naruto's sword. Naruto, Sasuke and Hinata all took out shuriken and kunai to throw at Kakashi. He checked his pouch to see if he had any to deflect them, but grimaced when he found out he didn't. He looked down and took Naruto's sword. Team 7 threw their weapons and Kakashi was able to deflect them. He smiled at their teamwork and attempt to trap him. Nice teamwork, but you still didn't get the bells. Kakashi said confidently. Naruto smiled right back. Who says the test is over? Kakashi then heard a hissing sound. He looked down and saw an explosive tag attached to the sword. Boom. Naruto said before the sword exploded. The explosion caused the whole training spot to shake, its sound echoing through the woods. Naruto came out from behind a tree with Hinata in his arms. She was blushing but grateful. She would have been caught in the blast if it wasn't for Naruto. Sasuke jumped into the blown-up clearing after Naruto and Hinata came out as well. Then they heard the alarm clock go out. Naruto walked into the smoldering crater the blast created and picked something up. It was small, round and black and he tossed it to Sasuke and Hinata. They both looked at it in confusion. Just hold on to it. Naruto said before heading for the 3 posts. Hinata and Sasuke followed him, still confused about the black balls Naruto gave them. When they arrived, they saw Kakashi leaning on the middle post. He held his hand high. Yo, hey, Naruto replied back while seating in front of the middle post and leaning back on it. Before he could blink he was tied to the post. What the? Sorry but you didn't get the bell. Neither did you too, did you? Before anyone could answer, Naruto answered for them. Of course they did, what do you think the black ball in their hands are? Kakashi, Hinata and Sasuke all held surprised expressions on their face. Yup, you see, I knew you would have survived a blast, but the same could not be said for the bells. The trap wasn't so much as to trap you or kill you, it was to blow the bells away from you. Naruto explained while Kakashi checked his person to look for his bells. He was shocked to see that he didn't have them. So it seems. Still it looks like you won't have lunch, Naruto. Kakashi said. And you'll have to go back to the academy. Naruto shrugged. Now, since you two have the bells, you can have lunch. But, I don't want you to give any of it to Naruto, that's an order. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to report this to the Hokage. Kakashi disappeared in a whirl of leaves and left the remaining members of Team 7 and Naruto alone. They started eating their lunch, while Sasuke was, Hinata was playing with hers. Something wrong, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked when he noticed Hinata not eating her lunch. Well, it's just you all look hungry. Me? No, don't worry about me. Naruto was interrupted by his stomach's grumbling. His sweat dropped while he laughed nervously. Looks like I've been caught. Here. Sasuke said as he offered his food. What? Naruto was surprised Sasuke offered some of his food. It's okay Sasuke, you look hungry and I don't really feel like eating. You can have mine Naruto-kun. Hinata offered her food to Naruto, but he didn't take it. What's wrong Naruto-kun? Well, the thing is I'm still tied to the post. He admitted sheepishly. Oh right, stupid me. You're not stupid Hinata-chan, you're smart, and pretty. Naruto stopped before he turned it into a confession. Crap. Well, Hinata-chan, would you feed it to me? Naruto asked, not wanting to give her time to realize what he said. He pretty me? Hinata nodded her head and went to feed him. Wait, Naruto turned his head, Hinata just looked at him, puzzled. I don't want to take my mask off. Naruto confessed. Hinata smiled warmly, understanding what he meant, stood up and sat back down in between him and Sasuke. Naruto smiled at her idea and she pulled down the mask. It took all her willpower not to faint or at least stare at his face. It was just as she remembered but a lot older and cuter. Naruto was happy he was to be able to eat, he was starving. Though he had seen the look Hinata gave him, if he didn't know any better, she looked at him like his face was familiar to her, almost like she's seen it before. Then he felt someone watching in the bushes across from them, so he quickly cut a rope with his sword that was hidden behind the post, and with a free hand he pulled his mask back over his face. I told you not to feed him. Kakashi came into the clearing with the impression that he wasn't happy. Well, what did you expect? I was hungry, she was worried and fed me. We were teammates for the last 24 hours and that is the least a teammate can do. Naruto yelled back. Did you expect her to sit back, enjoy her lunch and watch me suffer? I don't think so. That is not a team and if you expected us to be like that then I'm glad I'm going to the academy. Maybe then I'll get a sensei who isn't vague, actually shows up on time and doesn't make their team compete against each other. Well then maybe you should go. Kakashi said calmly. Naruto started walking and soon, Hinata and Sasuke followed him. Where are you two going? Back to the academy. Sasuke said casually. What? Why? Because Kakashi-sensei, Naruto-kun is our teammate. If he goes back to the academy, then we go with him. We wouldn't have it any other way. Hinata said, her stuttering nowhere to be heard. Sasuke just nodded in agreement. Naruto felt happy that his teammates cared. Well then I guess you three pass. Everyone was surprised by this. The hell? Naruto yelled. Yup, you pass. You are now officially Team 7. Kakashi said. After they got over their shock, Sasuke smirked while Naruto hugged Hinata and spun her around. She did blush but was too happy to faint. When he put her down, Naruto put Sasuke in a headlock. You hear that Sasuke, we're a team now. Sasuke was happy, but Naruto was starting to take it away. Naruto let him go, he felt like he was pushing it with Sasuke. Just one thing Kakashi said, momentarily stopping Team 7's celebration. Did you actually know that you had to work together? Team 7 nodded their heads. How? Oh well, it went back to when Hinata-chan screamed. Flashback. Hinata-chan, SHH. Relax, it's me, Naruto. Naruto said trying to calm Hinata down. Oh, sorry. Hinata apologized. Well, I'll make this quick since Kakashi-sensei might have heard that. Naruto grabbed a stick and transformed it to look like one of his swords. Then he put an explosive tag on it and wrapped it around the grip. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Get this sword in place at the end of a clearing that's 20 meters from here. Place it there and give it enough chakra so that it'll explode 15 minutes from now. After that, meet me back here. Wait, why are you doing this? More specifically, why do you need my help? Hinata asked. Didn't you notice something weird about this exercise? Hinata shook her head. Well, what is the point of putting us in a team? To make us work together as a team. Now think about it, what was the point of being in a team if Kakashi-sensei is just going to pit us against each other? Understanding dawned on Hinata's face. By the look on your face you seem to understand now. Yes, it's a test to see if we're willing to work together. Exactly. I mean, do you think a genin could stand a chance against a jonin? I don't even think all three of us could take on Kakashi-sensei. He purposely pitted us against each other to see if we were willing to put our differences aside and work together, even though we knew that one of us would end up going back to the academy after all was said and done. That's brilliant, Naruto-kun. Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head. Now go, we don't have much time left. Oh, and take this. Naruto gave Hinata one of his swords. And place it behind the middle post. He saw the questioning stare she gave him. Just you'll see. Hinata nodded, sent a little bit of chakra into the explosive tag and went to go put it where Naruto told her to. When she finished, she regrouped with Naruto and then they both went to see how Sasuke was doing. He was looking around for something and then a hand shot out of the ground and buried him into it. Okay, I'm going to lead Kakashi-sensei into the clearing. I want you to bury Sasuke out of the ground, take him to the clearing you place the sword in, and then wait for a good time to ambush him. Tell Sasuke the plan and good luck. Naruto said before he jumped out of his hiding spot and kicked Kakashi into the woods. Hinata ran to bury Sasuke out when she saw Naruto head after Kakashi. Hinata. Sasuke said. Hinata placed a finger on her lips to let him know to be quiet. When she buried him out and motioned him to follow her. What's going on, Hinata? Naruto set up a trap for Kakashi-sensei and we're going to help him. Why? Aren't we all competing against each other? Sasuke asked. That's what I thought too, but Naruto-kun explained it to me. The point is to work together. This exercise is to see if we're willing to work together. That makes sense. Sasuke said. Then they heard the sounds of punches and kicks making contact on skin. Come on there this way. Flashback. Very clever, Naruto. Kakashi praised. It wasn't too hard to figure out once you got the basic idea. Still, very good teamwork. I'm proud to say that you all pass. A ninja must see through deception, underneath if you will. In the ninja world, those who breaks the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. That's how I see it. Naruto said. So, when do we get our first mission? Tomorrow. Now take the day off, you guys deserve it. Kakashi said as he turned and walked away. Sasuke decided to go home and train. Naruto was about to head home when Hinata stopped him. Naruto-kun. What's up, Hinata-chan? Hinata didn't answer, she was too deep in thought. Do you really think I'm pretty? She asked timidly. Naruto tensed up and his mind froze. Great, she had to remember. Well, yeah. He answered back as he rubbed the back of his head. Then he remembered something. Say, Hinata-chan, when you were feeding me, you saw my face, right? Hinata blushed at the memory of his face, she nodded since she didn't think she would be able to talk. Well, it kind of looked like you saw my face before. Oh really? Oh no, he's getting suspicious. Yeah. Well, why you see an orange blur suddenly ran past them and it caught Naruto's attention. Hinata did seem to notice, but seemed to stop for some reason. Don't worry about Hinata-chan, well, I gotta go, I have a feeling Miyu's got herself in trouble. But don't worry about it, it's nothing too big, it never is. Naruto then disappeared, following after Miyu. Hinata stood there for a second, after which she decided to go home. Damn it, Miyu, bad timing. Naruto ran quickly and soon caught up with Miyu, who stopped in an empty clearing. She was barking at something in the trees. Naruto picked up Miyu and she barked a short message to Naruto. Naruto didn't really know how to speak fox, but he did know each one meant something, and this one meant that there was someone dangerous around. Naruto set Miyu back on the floor and took out his swords. He got into his stance and waited for the person to show themselves. Whoever you are, it's no use hiding, I know you're out there. Naruto warned. Maybe, but where? A cold voice said behind him and his reflexes kicked in. He swung his sword back to slice the person, but whoever it was disappeared. Nice reflexes. If I didn't know how fast you were, you probably would have hit me. The voice was now in front of him. Just who are you? Naruto asked the man in the black cloak and red clouds. The man looked up to show Naruto his Sharingan eye. My name? You don't know who I am? Naruto gave him a calculating stare. He knew of the Uchiha massacre and that there was only 2 Uchihas left and one of them went home, so this one was Itachi Uchiha. It seems you do. Now, as for this one, Itachi stepped to the left to reveal someone behind him. It was a girl, she had her eyes closed and appeared to be unconscious. However, she wasn't an ordinary girl, not Naruto. Hinata-chan. Hinata didn't move, she didn't even make a sound. What if Naruto has immortal bloodline council bashing? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.